What is up, everybody? Welcome to Pop Culture Philosophers. I am Rockin Robbie Billups, and today we're here to be talking about the best comic books of the month. That's right. It's that time of the month, the end of the month, where we discuss our favorite comic books of the month that just occurred. So the final week of comics was yesterday, except for DC. They think they're special. They're getting one more weekend this month. We're not going to allow that shit here at PCP. So tonight, we got a great panel of esteemed comic book YouTubers, including Nick from Comic Culture. What is up, my man?
Dude, I'll take esteemed all day long.
Right? And the #1 comic reviewer now on OnlyFans. Number one.
Hey, get it right. You know, the intros are important, man. I appreciate that. Thanks, dude. Yeah, so I'd be here, man. So many books, dude. Let's get into it. Can't wait, man.
It also helped you out when you started reading those comics on air live with your feet.
Yeah. Who knows? There's so many freaks out there. I think Lovesick brought a lot of people out of the closet a little bit, man. It's pretty insane.
Paper cuts between your toes. Speaking of paper cuts between toes, that's the only way nerdy Manny can get off.
That's how I get down. How's it going, fellas?
What up, man?
Dude. Now I'm a fan of esteemed. If I could get a baked, that's generally how I like to roll, though.
Okay. Well, speaking of fried, we got Greg from Bearded Comic Bro. What is up, my man?
Not much, man. I'm glad to be back, and I'm glad to be fried. Just the way I like my Oreos.
Ooh, hell yeah.
Fried.
Twinkies.
Now, the way that this gentleman likes his eggs is fried over hard. What's up, Brian? How you doing?
That's right. Over hard. So, yeah. Oh, I don't know. Yeah, doing good.
Now, I'd like 2 eggs over hard.
Yeah, I was just going to bullshit until you did the video. I knew it was coming, so figured I should just stall. And you wait till I say something, so, I can't just give it a pause.
I was actually going to just not do it that time, and then I was just like, nah, let's do it.
It's right there. Just do it,
It's just a button away, right?
Yeah.
Anyway.
Commit to the bet.
You
don't want to regret not doing it.
Yeah, but I also at the same time don't want to overuse it. I don't want to make it over hard. Right?
That's hard to do, though.
Yeah, it is. All right, so tonight we're talking about the best comics of February. There may be some slight spoilers to everybody out there in the chat. Speaking of the chat, we really appreciate y'all being here. So can someone explain Decorum? Well, Decorum's not one of the books this month. However, it is a very simple story told in a very complex way. Somebody has something, one group wants it, they're fighting after it, whatever. Anyway, so I like Decorum. Read it again. See what you tell me. So we always start this with the pick of the month. Do I usually go first? Yeah, I usually go first. I don't want anybody taking mine. My pick of the month by far, my favorite comic book from February 2023, 20th Century Men #6. Holy cow. Dennis Camp. Was it Stepan Morian?
I think it's Stepan
Morian. And Aditya Bidikar. I've said this before, and I thought the last time I'd get to say this was on my weekly comic book review, but I realize now I get to say it again. This is what a comic book is like when everybody that's making it gives a shit. Like when they actually care about craft, about rereadability, about actually making a statement, but at the same time making something interesting, making it interesting in concept and characters, but also making it interesting visually and as a reading experience. Also utilizing everything, right? 6 issues. All of them were like, 50 to 60 pages? This is going to be a big honkin' trade paperback. I loved the finale. Now, this has been a good book, and I've called it challenging, and I know I've gotten a lot of comments, people saying that they just couldn't get into it. I think even Fire Guy Ryan was like, I'm glad you like it, but to me, I just couldn't quite wrap my head around it. I would encourage anybody who stuck through and didn't quite click with it, reread it, because on rereads, it just gets better, and that's how Dennis writes. Dennis likes the kind of books where you want to go back and you see other things. His other works like Maxwell's Demons is like that, right? When you read that, the more you read that, the more rewarding it is. Agent of World, which me and Brian have gotten to read that last issue of Agent of World, and holy freaking cow.
Yeah.
Dennis Camp is on another level. His Bloodshot was amazing. Agent of World is amazing, but 20th Century Man, I think, is one of the best graphic novels, best comic books about war and kind of playing with an alternate history involving superheroes. And for those that don't know, it's about this Cold War set in the 80s between Russia and the United States. And like the president of the United States is kind of like Captain America, right? And then the general of the Russian army, the Soviet army, is kind of like Iron Man, right? But very different, twisted, like Rick Veitch-esque type versions and caricatures of those characters. And then you have Afghanistan stuck in the middle. And this one really just hit everything home with, I cannot remember her name, but the main female character, having everything wrap itself around her at the end, showing the experience of Afghanistan during this time through her, telling the story, continuing to build that world, and at the same time, ramping up the action, the brutality, the violence, and the art is amazing. Morgan shifting his style, not just from page to page, but from panel to panel. I freaking love it. What do y'all think about 20th Century Man? Did you read it, Nick?
No, I have not read it. I read issue number 1, and I think I'm suffering from what you were talking about before about getting it was a little bit of a sludge to kind of get through, and I have issue number 1 and number 2, and I appreciated the scope of it because I thought it was really interesting, and like that guy basically in like that giant suit and all the trauma and everything around him and all the politics around him as well. I thought that was an interesting thing. It's definitely a book I got to go back and read. Like I said, I have the first 2 issues. I need to catch back up on those. But Agent of World is another example of that writing style where I read it the first time. It was, I didn't appreciate it at first. I had to read it again. And then I got into issue number 2 and issue number 3, and I can see the building blocks. You know what I mean? I can see what he's building over time. And so I think it's good on a reread. I think I need to check it out again. There's a lot of cool stuff happening there though.
Yeah, I would highly encourage that. And just, it's probably one of the best comic book endings of a miniseries in so long for me. Like I absolutely just thought they completely nailed it. Completely. What about you, Manny? Did you read it yet?
Oh yeah. I'm about 2 seconds away from doing my voiceover before the show started for my review. I freaking loved it. Absolutely loved it. It's everything I want in a book. It's a book that has, if I stand there and I try to explain what it's about, a Russian Iron Man, Captain America, that's great. That's a great surface level, but that's not what this book's about. This book's about isms. It's about nationalism, imperialism, industrialism, and the things that get left in the lurch, right? You got this war between am I gonna get in trouble if I keep saying Trumpy? No, I think our audience is on my side. The Trumpy ass president, a Captain America, who's got this hyper violent nationalist streak. Some would say almost egotistical or almost American. And then you've got the industrialized Polonov, or however you say his name is, Pluto, whatever, Iron Man. And they are fighting this proxy battle for Afghanistan, the heart of Afghanistan. And the idea that in this war, what ends up getting unleashed is this mindless force of destruction that's just killing everyone and everything in its path. And after you reach this climax where the gal from Afghanistan, like you said, is going through their history, and you think that maybe, just maybe, there might be some victory here for those people, the book ends in a certain way, but both of those powers still remain, and time marches on. The fucking the corporate cronies that are backing the American president they're overjoyed. The loss of life doesn't matter to them. The battle itself doesn't matter to them. Everything just relentlessly marches on for the 2 superpowers. And poor Gone, I think, is the town of Afghanistan in Afghanistan is left, in ruin. And it's such a stark reminder of while we sit here in our and we look as Americans at the world, sometimes I don't think we realize that there is a very human cost to the level of comfort that we live in, and we fight over the stupidest, most asinine political bullshit when there are people being killed while we're fucking sitting here, eating fucking, I don't want to say cookie M&Ms because you're gonna draw me a picture. I'm not picking on you. I'm just saying cookie M&Ms. You know what I mean? We're just sitting there living our lives. So anyway, it's a great book. It's a fucking great book.
Hey, those cookie M&Ms were pretty good. Have you tried them yet, Manny?
I haven't, but you talk about them all the time, and I never see them.
Well, I'm just so happy to see an advertisement in a Marvel comic that's not for another Marvel comic. I'm just like, wow, good for you guys.
You've been paying a lot of attention to ads, because I think you were pretty overjoyed about a Levi's ad this week, I think. So
it was a Levi's ad parody in Pink Lemonade is what it was. But I really did. I appreciated that very much. I think me and Nick Cagnetti read the same comics growing up. Greg, is this one that we've yet to sell you on?
Did someone say Pink Lemonade? No, I'm just joking. I picked up issue 1 finally because of you, Robbie. So that's another time, another place. I actually did read issue 6. This is 6. Yeah. What I've come to realize, I feel like I resonate with a lot of what Nick's saying. This is one of those, I don't think I can read it on New Comic Book Day, because I feel like so often on New Comic Book Day, I'm just going through the stack, right? Like, okay, let's knock out these books, especially like yesterday when I'm like,
yep,
20 books came out that I was like, I got to get for the show. And it's because this is one that you have to give yourself space, I think. And just like, all right, let's give myself some time, because it's written in a unique way, you know, that like you've all said, like you have to go back and reread sometimes, and the structure and how it jumps off the paneling at times too. You almost have to get yourself engrossed into the world to figure out how to kind of process it through. At least that's how it was for me. Like it's the parts where I'm like, I don't know what's going on, but I like it.
Yep.
Was this was the issue where you basically had Hulkbuster versus Shirtless Bear-Fighter, right?
Yes.
Like that's okay. That's
Say no more.
I mean,
right.
That's what you get in issue 6, Nick. Just make it through there.
Awesome. All right. I'm on it.
And it's brutal and it's violent too, man. And like Manny says, it ends in a very poignant kind of way where there is an ending, but then there's the understanding that this war is not ending. Like we're in a perpetual state of war. Like that's one of the things the corporate cronies that are behind the presidential's power, right? Mm-hmm. Like they're like, no, we want this war. We don't want because the president's like, we need to win. America needs a win. And they're like, no, we need war. As long as war is going on, we're making money. Yeah. And, right. And it's obviously a political book. You know what I'm saying? But it's like, it's not like hammering down. Like the thing is, it's a lot of people think that like things that are like political in nature, they try to relate that to today's political climate. And you could read that into this, but that's just because war has been prevalent in America, in like human civilization for a long, long time. And it's kind of ingrained into the advancement of society and nations, right? Brian, I know you're a big fan. I'm excited to know what you thought.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I loved it. I did read this one last night, and I agree. Like it is hard to read these when you are trying to get through a stack though. Cause like I'm not skimming anything, and I'm not necessarily a fast reader, but especially on things like this and the level of that art, I mean, I haven't, I don't know if Stepan's done anything else, but I haven't seen his stuff before, so, I mean, it was just, he changes styles up, the choices, but he makes good choices when he does it, I mean, like it's obviously really intentional, and it just hits, really hard. And, and maybe it was the colors, but it doesn't look like a traditional superhero book, that we're used to, but I mean, it definitely had that exaggerated superhero action, and everything like that. He definitely translated that really well. And yeah, it is pretty heavy. I mean, it's like, but one of the things I thought from it too, is it does mimic the superhero books from like, it's, it really just kind of maintains the status quo, right? I mean, that seems to be the goal, for these, and that's kind of depressing, right?
You can almost read it like, it's like almost like like it's about the perpetual nature of like keeping the superhero comics just in the same state, right? Yeah. Like just we're not going to change anything. We're not going to move forward. Like we'll hit an ending, but it's a false ending. It's just the cycle's going to restart again, right?
Right. Yeah. And then Ditch's lettering, man. I mean, he keeps trying new stuff, and it works every time. Like, I mean, it's just, I don't know, it's fascinating to me. And but I think this is like, I guess this is the 4th series, from Dennis, and this is the only one I know of that isn't really kind of done in the one and done kind of format. I mean, I think there are a little bit of themes in each issue, that kind of get wrapped up in things, but this is like his first one where it's like, yeah, it would be better to read it in a chunk, I mean the whole time, and that is pretty fascinating, because like that one and done is hard to do well, in my opinion, like to keep your attention and everything like that. But like I thought he hit this out of the park too, just like, I don't know.
Yeah. That's a real good point about everything Dennis has done. It always tells one story, but each thing is like, it's their own self-contained stories. And 20th Century Men has certain elements of that, mostly in style and theme, like you were saying. but not necessarily with the narrative. The narrative is going through, right? And it doesn't. It's not hand feeding you, right? Like,
oh no,
yeah, like and knowing Dennis cares about not insulting your intelligence as a reader. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's like, they're smart enough, they'll figure it out. They'll be able to piece it together. I don't have to hand feed it to them. I don't have to spoon it in like Stan Lee did, where it's like Spider-Man leaps over the building. Like, yeah, no shit, we can see it. Then he's thinking, I'm leaping over the building. Tom King does that shit, you know? Anyway.
Yeah. So it's a 6-issue complete story. So you don't wish it was 8. You don't wish it was 5. It was a perfect, because a lot of these 6-issue runs or 5-issue runs, it seems like they're the pacing gets like a little bit weird halfway through, but it sounds like they nailed it, right?
They nailed it on this one, and each issue being so extra sized, like I cannot wait to read this together.
It's practically.
I mean, I was gonna say it probably realistically is at least 7 issues. But I mean, that issue 5 is a thick one.
It might be close to 10 to 12 issues because they're like at least double sized, right? They're at least like 40 pages each, I think.
Yeah. Cool.
And 5 was
counting pages, Brian?
No, I wasn't counting pages.
Oh, would you?
Huh?
We need a fact checker.
Will you count all the pages of 20th Century Men?
It took me a bit. I got to find my
37 pages,
and then average them
for the last issue.
Okay,
that was small. That was small, I think, in comparison to the others.
Yeah, the first one was huge. I remember him talking about it. Yeah, we wanted to make them. You know, he said he didn't set himself to a page count. He wanted to have as much time as they needed to tell the story. Then he's like, but when you're self-financing a book, it may not be the most wise decision to do when you're, because they never raised the price over $3.99.
I was gonna say they're $3.99 too. That's pretty good in this day and age, man.
Yeah. So every page you're losing money over over 23, 24 pages.
Right?
You're losing money.
If that was a Marvel comic, it would have been a $9.99.
Sure.
Fucking timeless 2022 because now we got another. Anyway, moving on. Nick, so you out there, if you haven't read 20th Century Men, I would highly recommend it. And let us know what you thought about it. What about you, Nick? What's the pick of the month? And is it from this?
Yeah, it is. Actually, it is from this week. It's probably. I'm going to be a little bit obvious, perhaps, but I mean, there was a lot of great books out this particular week. There was a lot of great books out, so it could have really went anywhere, honestly. But I tried to figure out the book that like made me feel a certain way, and so I'm going to go ahead and choose Junkyard Joe. I mean, not a big surprise there. We have Junkyard Joe issue number 5 from Jeff Johns, Gary Frank, and we have Brad Anderson on here as well. So not a huge surprise, kind of a spinoff in a way of Geiger. Geiger happens, I believe, like 50 years in the future from when this book takes place. But this is a great little origin story. Started off in Vietnam. We had some kind of a new recruit join the platoon, join our little squad here. And as that story and as that first issue unfolded, we learn that this particular soldier is kind of not otherworldly, but he's kind of a robot. And I just love the story progression in here. A lot of our squad is kind of taken out. We get this older man who kind of lives his life. He actually was in that original squad. He actually uses that memory to build a career as a cartoonist. And then that cartoon kind of comes to life in a way and revisits him in here. But what I really like about this book is just the humanity inside of it, which is absolutely brilliant. Junkyard Joe's a robot, like I mentioned, but the way that he emotes, the way that he's drawn, the way that his actions are, it makes you feel really sorry for him. He's got a lot of PTSD. He's got a lot of trauma in his life, trying to figure out what's going on. And I think the art style is what really sells me on here, sells me on the story for sure. This issue was great because, I mean, it's basically a piece of government technology that's on the loose right now. And there's obviously going to be some people trying to bring that back home. And they're kind of a get it done by whatever means necessary kind of a squad. And of course, we're taking advantage of some of the characters that we've been introduced to throughout this run. So there's just so much heart. There's a lot of humanity in here, so much emotion in here as well. The art perfectly matches the tone of the writing, which I think is absolutely brilliant. And so Junkyard Joe, I think I may have picked it last month as well, but it's just such a good book. I'm absolutely loving this one. And you got to be checking this out, guys. I'm sure you all are reading it.
This week was insane because Junkyard Joe, Ice Cream Man, and 20th Century Man. These are books that are easy picks of the week for me. And all three of them in the same week. And I'm like, oh, man, I'm going to have to disappoint somebody, you know? And Junkyard Joe was going to be the second one I brought up tonight. Nick, I love this book. We were going ham about it last month, and I was talking about each book, each issue just keeps getting better. Jeff Johns is getting better as a writer. Gary Frank's getting better as an artist. Brad Anderson's getting better as a colorist, right? And like they've all leveled up, and they're able to do so much with so little. The artwork is still clean and precise, but there's more structurally and compositionally to it. There's more density in Jeff Johns' writing, but at the same time, it doesn't feel like stagnant. It doesn't feel weighed down. It feels light and it moves, and it's easy to get into this world, into this story. I think it's such a great book. Definitely a runner up for me for the best book of the month. What about you, Manny? What do you think?
Junkyard Joe, this was good. I like the way that he still hits all the notes that you need to. Like, this is the chase scene in the ET movie, right, where the kids are running and they're gonna ride the bikes over the moon, right? That's the type of scenes that are set up here. But it's got way more menace to it. You know what I mean? Like, there's the body count is higher, but that's not the only thing about it. You've got tension because it is more violent. The villains are they've got bite to them, but then there's also tension when we get to the last page and we get the twist, and all of that is building throughout. But even though that's this part of the story, this is that, leading into the third act, it still hits all the emotional beats we still need it to. I mean, this is Short Circuit with widowers and PTSD, and it never loses sight of the fact that it has to touch on all of those points. So when Mr. Davis goes into town and we get this thing he never knew about his wife, like he's discovering something new about his wife. There's an emotional impact there. I've never loved a character that doesn't talk as much as I love Joe. Just a simple hand on the shoulder. It's something we've seen a million times in film, but it hits here. I don't know why it hits here. I don't know if it's because as a reader, we're like emotionally puppeteering things in our mind. But when Junkyard Joe puts his hand on Mr. Davis's shoulder, I damn near broke. It's so well written, so well done. I really love this series.
I'm wondering, you brought up a good point about the hand on the shoulder thing, because like throughout this whole run, Joe's been trying to find ways of being useful. He's been like picking up the broom and sweeping the floors. He's been cleaning up the broken picture frames or something like that, doing dishes, whatever he's been doing. He's trying to find ways of being useful. And I'm wondering if he's just trying to find himself, and he just so happened to come across this vet that he teamed up with early on in issue number 1. So yeah, the humanity inside of him is beautiful. And then Robbie, you talked about the composition and paneling and stuff. Some of the perspectives in here, especially with the coloring, it's like haunting. It's very, very haunting. The surprise scene, I won't give away spoilers, but there's a moment where Junkyard Joe and Mr. Davis kind of come back home, and they're very, very surprised by the scene that they're witnessing when they come back home. And there's one panel in particular where Joe's face is completely black and all you see are those eyes. And it's like little moments like that it just reinforces how special the comic really is. And so great observation there.
Yeah, for sure. What about you, Greg? Any thoughts?
No, because I haven't gotten to read this issue yet. I actually picked up issue 1 because of y'all last show, because Nick did bring it up as his pick of the month.
Great.
So I was like, how did I miss it? I went up, got issue 1, loved it. The storytelling in that was fantastic. Obviously, Gary Frank on art, you can't beat that. So this is one I'm going to hopefully. How many issues is it? Is this wrapped up?
There's 6? Just one more.
Okay.
One more.
So my goal will be to be caught up by next episode, because I'm sure y'all will be like, it's the best again for issue 6. So
next month we're gonna be like, Junkyard Joe fucking sucked this month, guys.
And I'm like,
terrible ending.
It was like,
you guys made me read 5 more issues.
They just get ice cream. That's all. So, what about you, Brian? I know that we got you finally into it. Have you read this one?
I did. I was going to point out that it actually comes out on the 29th. So.
Oh no.
Okay. So we won't be talking about it next month, but in April, I'm sure we will.
I got some time. All right.
So, but yeah, I got into this because heavy pressure from Robbie, which usually works. And because I trust you, man. I trust you.
Sweet.
And yeah,
got some stuff I can't sell that I'm going to start pushing on you.
Yeah, like that Frank Miller one. What was that one you tried to get me to buy?
Which one?
The one where it was Holy Batman.
Holy Terror? Yeah.
Oh. Yeah.
If anybody needs some Holy Terror, just let us know. Real cheap. Yeah. Real cheap.
Yeah, no, I absolutely love this series. And because I didn't read Geiger either, and I went back and read that and really liked that. And I've always liked Gary Frank's art, man. He's he kills it there. And but yeah, I like the one comment about the menace in there, because like that was like that part in the woods was terrifying, man. You know, and and right before that, you know, like the villain, you know, kind of looks like Junkyard Joe, but that was just terrifying. Like it was a much more terrifying version of him. You know, I mean, it was like that was real effective and everything. And then that twist at the end, you know, it's like that's a perfect issue, you know, penultimate issue, right? I mean, it advances the story in good ways and everything like that. But then at the end, you're just like, son of a bitch, man, I got to wait a month because I need to know what's going to go on, man. I mean, yeah. And, you know, Jeff Johns is a master at that. I think he's so good at that pacing, you know, for that. So, yeah. Great book.
He's gotten so much better since, you know, basically since he kind of got canned from his gig at DC Films, right? And he didn't have that distraction. He's just been able to kind of focus in and do his own thing. He's back at DC doing Justice Society and Stargirl. That stuff's awesome. So, and I think he really heavily studied The Watchmen for Doomsday Clock. And I think it really leveled him up as a writer. So that's a fantastic pick. So Manny, we got 2 banging picks already. What about you? What's your pick of the month?
You know what? I'm going to go back to week 1 so I don't forget to talk about this one. Where Monsters Lie. Come on. This was such a good book. Kyle Starks. He's like one of my favorite, you know, like tongue-in-cheek horror type writers. Keeps everything flowing. The world building is right there. I love the idea of like all these different serial killers all living in this gated community. It's just like it's played for laughs, and it knows it's being played for laughs, but there's just like this it's like the Munsters for fucking kids that grew up watching slasher flicks. Like, you want to watch this, you want to see, you know, the little HOA joke about not hiding his garbage cans that hit me so hard, and it really shouldn't, but it did. It's so good. I really enjoy this book. I'm excited to see where it goes, and just Where Monsters Lie. It's very, very strong, fun book.
You know, on that week that it released, I thought that was a rather lackluster week. And if like 69% of the books that came out this week, if any of them would have come out that first week, they might have made the pick of the week, right?
Yeah.
But Where Monsters Lie made the pick of the week, not just because it was the best of a not so good week. It was a really good comic, right? Kowalski is the artist, right? It's the artist of Join the Future. He wrapped up Dark Interlude. Really great artwork. I loved it. Dense, textured, right? But the story, it's so great. It's like, a bunch of like movie maniacs and serial killers all live in like a cul-de-sac together when they're not killing, right? And I had just recently watched Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and it made me think of like that like hippie village that they're in and that old like movie set or whatever. It kind of made me think of that. It made me think a little bit of Arrested Development, when they couldn't sell the Sutton Valley or whatever, right? They couldn't sell the homes there, so they had to start selling them to the, like, pedophiles, right? So all the pedophiles wind up in that one spot. It kind of made me think of that, and it had a great sense of humor to it and a bouncy sense of fun, but it still had a level and aura of threat that I liked. Bearded, did you read this one?
I did, and I think I'm going to chalk up like, thank goodness for a crappy week of comics, because I don't know if I would have picked this. I had like 5 issues on my pull list, and I put it out there. I'm like, guys, I can't walk out my comic store with 5 comics. Like, give me more. And like, this made the people recommended this. They recommended Blood Tree, and I haven't gotten to check out much of Kyle Stark's books before, but it is hilarious. The writing is quick-witted. You know, the names I've heard people talk about, like the names he comes up with for his characters in all his books are usually just buck wild. But there's a scene where they're all together in whatever the library or studio, you know, and they're all sitting there, and this clown just looks over at the dude with the teddy bear on his head. He's just like, why do I have to sit next to him?
This guy creeps me out.
It's like, why do I always have to sit next to him? It's kind of like this. I do the same thing with Robbie. Like, Robbie, why do you always put me next to Manny on the show? Like, it creeps me out. Like, and
the y'all show up. I'm sorry, man.
The lady just looks at him and like deadpan is like, we don't have assigned seats. Like, thank you.
There you go.
But it's a lot of fun. You've got the violence of the, you know, what you'd want from a horror. But I just hope we spend more time in this community, and that the community doesn't, like, the aspect of that world doesn't get blown up real quick, because I'm afraid it is. But who knows? I'm not a writer, so if it does, I'll be happy to see where it goes. So
absolutely. Did you read this one, Brian?
I did. Yeah, I did. I liked it a lot. I think my pick of that week would have been the Demon Wars one, just because of how beautiful that art was. But yeah, I met Kyle Starks with you actually in Memphis. I picked up Assassination Nation from him, which I highly recommend that one, by the way. That one is, I wish that had kept going.
That one and the 6 sidekicks of Trigger Keaton.
That was really so good. It was so good. Yeah, I think his I Hate This Place, I'm editing myself, is probably his most serious book. Like there's some humor in that, but there's not, not like these other ones, Kyle Starks, he's just super funny and everything. And yeah, the art hits really well and everything like that. Yeah, I'm going to keep reading. Yeah, I'm really digging it.
I Hate This Place because it's like an allegory for being a millennial. Like we bought houses, when the housing market was up, and now we're all fucking stuck with them, and we can't get rid of them because interest rates are through the roof. It's just it's terrible. It's terrible.
I could see that.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Well, you're in the newly minted spot, Brian. So why don't you tell us? Oh, wait. I didn't ask Nick yet, did I?
Oh, no, I totally agree with everything you guys said about this one. This was a great pick. In fact, it was one that was not on my radar. So thanks everybody. Thanks Robbie for pointing that out. So I picked that up. I was going to mention that exact same scene that Bearda mentioned right here about they're all kind of sitting down. Why do I have to sit next to this guy? And this old lady who's basically running this meeting right now mentions that, hey, there's not assigned seating, guys. You can sit wherever you want. And then when the meeting's over, she says, remember, go over there for refreshments and Danishes. I don't want to clean up anything. So it's just like the humor in this book is just all over the place, but there's that little level of terror and like that just psycho killer aspect to it too. So it's just like a great combination. I can't think of another book that balances it that well. And I really like all the dense artwork too. So yeah, I think I hope we're going to stay in this community. I hope the cops, if they get involved in stuff, it's going to turn into like just a big bloody mess inside of here. So I hope that that's the case. But what a great pick. That was a good one, man.
Yeah, that was a good one. All right, Brian, what's your pick of the month?
My pick of the month is Doctor Strange Fall Sunrise, number 4, the finale. I remember when this was announced. I talked about this book last month. I know that number 3. But when this book was announced, I was like Trad Moore doing easily one of my favorite Marvel characters. In large part because of the visuals of Doctor Strange comics. That's like, one of the biggest draws for that, right? Like his first fan base, was in the 60s, was, college kids, smoking up a lot, and everything like that.
Smoking up a lot.
Yeah. I sound old. I know. I'm sorry.
I know you're smoking that hop, those hop heads, smoking the dope, smoking pot.
Yeah. Doing all the things. But like Trad Moore, like I had seen some of his other stuff, but he did that Silver Surfer Black. And I thought that was just a fabulous story. Fabulous comic book. And that you could stare at that art all day. And like, feel like he leveled up yet again with this. And, and his wife's on the colors. And just the colors are insane in this. Everything just shouts at you and everything. And I really like the panel composition he's been doing. And this one, especially, I think was really cool because like, I don't know if you all have read it, but, basically, the kind of gist of the story is Doctor Strange is helping the god of shapes give birth. And she's holding him in a place to like with her to help give birth, but then also to protect the child from her mate, Bythos. And so this is like kind of illustrating the 2 different places he's at, and like it just starts getting flickering faster and faster and everything like that. So it's got these threads going, and the threads guide you through the panels and everything like that. There's like most of the book is not in these panels. There's several 9-panel grids on here. He's switching up the panel layouts because like most of them are just wild, right? Just kind of a lot of angular panels and everything like that to show like exaggerated long motion and everything like that. I did the first read of each issue. Yeah, it's not an easy read. So on Tuesday night I reread the first 3 issues, and I forced myself not to just linger on the art, so I could just focus on the words and then start mixing it in and everything like that. And I felt like I was able to get a grip that way on the story. It's it's kind of a traditional mythological type story and everything like that. But yeah, you just can't overlook the art, and this is like next level art, So I don't know. Yeah, I loved it.
Yeah, I absolutely love that book. I think it's one of the best looking Marvel books in a long time, for sure. It's gorgeous. Tradd Moore is a revelation with his artwork, but I didn't know what the hell was going on at any point in this series. And this is the dude that's like talking about how decorum's very simple, right? But like Brian came in on Wednesday and I was like, so did you read him? And he's like, yeah. And he starts talking about it. And I'm like, bruh, to be honest, you confused me more. Because I was like, what? That's what that book's about. But what? I love the damn art. I think it's absolutely amazing. I cannot wait to sit down. I have every issue. Cannot wait to sit down and do what Brian did and read through it. I had a comment with someone saying that they took time to reread it and really got the story, right? And they just on FOC just did the Treasury edition. So they're doing one of those kayfabe size Treasury editions. Very, very excited for that one. Greg, did you read Fall Sunrise?
No, I first issue confused me. I was just like, I'm not there, and so I didn't invest in it yet. So,
if only you were a college kid in the '60s.
Yeah,
not me.
Like a college kid in your 60s. That's the trick.
I think that was the target audience.
Yeah.
Still not me.
Nick, did you read this one?
No, no, just like we were saying before, I think I read the first issue and I'm like, I don't know what the hell is going on in this thing. It's beautiful. I liked everything. And those aren't even 9-panel grids. Those are like 15-panel grids, like double page over and over, like 15-panel high-paced storytelling with just like, I didn't know what was going on when we had like single like spread page, like splash pages, and much less like 15. So no, not one that I picked up, but it's gorgeous. I know I've read the first issue, but couldn't really get into it.
Nice. What about you, Manny?
Oh yeah, I looked at this book. I looked at many pages of this book. I don't know what's going on. He talked about Brian when he was explaining, like helping give birth. Now I distinctly remember the baby. I distinctly remember him handing off to the tree kaleidoscope, but I had no idea that was what was happening. I was like, I love the color schemes. I love that first page where Doctor Strange is like, he just made out of like very stylized shapes. You know what I mean? But he reads so clean and nice. And as a graphic designer, like it reminds me of like advertisements from like the 60s. I like that. And I like how it goes from, that page right there. So dope. And then I like how it's kind of reds and purples, and then as we get into like the big battle, it reminds me of like Sunrise, because it's like it's blues and purples, and then it gets into the fight and it's like this flame. I'm assuming it's a knight. It's either a knight or it's a unicorn that's standing on 2 legs and flaming, but there's like this knight thing that he's fighting, and it's like this is, well, he doesn't want to fight anyway. You'll read it and you won't understand it either, so it's not spoilers, but he fights that thing and it's so cool. And then you have the 2001 thing because there's just like the baby is there and it's beautiful and whatever, and then he hands it to a tree and then it's over. So it was really, really good though. I liked looking at it.
There's your next short right there, Manny.
Yeah, one thing that helped is in the opening of the issue 2, it does kind of give you the background of Bithos and Sophia and their children and everything. And that night he was fighting his coin, like it's like Bithos' last child, and like after all the others left, and that character's sole job is to stop any more from being born. I don't know.
So in the second issue, do you mean that bit where it like breaks down into these different interludes and it tells this like long story with these big texts and all? Yeah, I fucking skipped right through that bit.
Those help a lot.
I was like, this is like those info pages in fucking X-Men books that piss me off. I just skip them. In fact, the only one of those things I read are Damn Them All.
Yeah, those are good, and Damn Them All. And to me, the X-Men one, that they went over hard.
Yes, they did. they did.
They did way overused it.
Now, I'm very excited, and I cannot wait to see this in the Treasury size. Like, it's gonna be so gorgeous. I really wish I would have got the Silver Surfer Black Treasury now.
it made me feel good when I asked you to order one for me and you said you already did.
I did.
Like, I felt understood in that moment.
But you need to pay attention to your Marvel previews, my friend. Okay, and that's all I'm trying to say. I can always be there to look out for you.
I feel like you will be though.
Well, what happens when I've become fully rich because of all my dynamite money, and then like I quit the shop? You know what I'm saying? Then you won't have anybody there to order those books for you.
We'll have to deal with that the day that comes.
We'll cross that bridge when we get there. All right, Greg, what is your pick of the month?
I've got a lot, and a lot of them probably came out last week or this week, I guess. But one that I really loved is from Sumerian Comics, and it is How I Became a Shoplifter.
Great book.
Okay, I was gonna say, like, Robbie, I feel like if you haven't read this, you would enjoy it. I read this and I'm like, is Robbie one of the characters?
I had to read it because our buddy Mike, one of his homies is Tom Braithwaite.
Yeah.
He's the writer of that book. So he's like, "You're gonna review my buddy's book, right?" I was like, "Look, man, I'll do it, but if I don't like it, don't get mad at me." Luckily, I loved it. In particular, the ICP story. That shit cracked me up.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the idea, if you haven't read the book, it's just like short stories. So there's 3 short stories in the midst of this comic, and that's how the whole series is written. You gotta check out issue 2 is gonna be great when it drops next month. We'll talk about it then. But it's this idea of kind of this day and age before, everything was on cell phones. You could just do shenanigans and get away with, like, it was like the last of our like childhood of, like, I feel like this was written to us as a generation that is just like, man, I remember those days of the tomfoolery that we'd get into and stuff. But it just, you have the Insane Clown Posse story. You've got them, setting up their brother in the one, and then the other one is the Mash Mouth concert that they break into to try and impress girls.
Yeah, it's Smash Mouth, but it's Mash Mouth, right? And then they break in and they finally meet the lead singer, but they break into his dressing room and he's sitting there coked out with his dick out in his hand, right? Watching porn or something.
As you do.
And he's singing All Star to himself.
But like, and they have to tell this story because like the parents find a Polaroid because of it, basically, that the kids they were trying to snap a photo, and it's like, oh, okay, so that's what happened. Okay, we just wanted to make sure, like,
wow,
it was a lot of fun. The art it's different artists on all the stories, which I think is just, but it doesn't feel separated. And it's something that you can just pick up and have fun with it. You're not going to go deep and like and have to overthink things, but you're just like, it takes me back to a nostalgia. And I'm just like, man, it was a good read. So if you haven't checked it out, I highly recommend it.
Yeah, totally perfect for 80s and 90s kids, right? Because I think they even mentioned it. It's about the last generation before technology took over, right? But basically, and all this kind of stuff. And you did go out there and get into shit. The ICP story is one of my favorites because they're trying to impress these 2 women. And so they're going to get weed for them, right? But the dude who sells the weed, if you know your juggalo lingo, because he's a juggalo, he'll like give you the hookup. So then they go there and it's really awkward. And then one of the friends just starts like saying all the shit, like, yo, let's get some Faygo, and like all the lingo, right? And he's like super cool with them. And then he's like, what are you talking about? And then he reveals this really traumatic part of his past in which his family were juggalos. And so he had to like go from like show to show to show with them, right? Like Deadheads or something, but like for the ICP, right? And so then they get the weed and it's the best weed around, but then the friend lets the juggalo talk slip out around the girls, and then they're out. They're out of there, bro. They're like, screw you. You're into Insane Clown Posse? Shit was hilarious. Did you? I'm guessing Nick did not read this one.
No, I did not. I saw it on people's feeds, like on New Comic Book Day, but I'm like, man, how did I miss that one? That wasn't an indie I took a chance on, honestly. But it sounds hilarious. I need to go back and see if I can find it.
Take a chance on it.
Yeah.
What about you, Manny? Did you read it, or did it offend your juggalo sensibilities?
It did. No, I had no one in the 25-mile radius carries any Sumerian books, so
that was the other problem.
That's some bullshit, man. I get so mad when I hear about shops that don't carry the. I understand running out, but like we at least carry them. You know, God,
if you don't sell them, they sit there.
It's my
That's
fault
the
for
problem.
not ordering.
well, it's your job to sell them, comic shop owners and retailers. Come on, it's your job to sell them. And if you order something that's crappy, that it does suck. It does suck when you. I made a big mistake on that Artist Elite shit, man. We got stuck with so many of those fucking first few issues.
Yeah,
I was like, that's why I should never spec as like I never should attempt to predict speculation in the comic book market as a comic book retailer because I'm terrible at it. I'm like, oh, dude, people are going to be really into this.
for sure.
Not at fucking all, dude. Nobody cares. Nobody cares.
How many copies of Pink Lemonade are at your store still? No, just
we actually sold really heavily on 1 and 2. Maybe we're not going to order 3,000 copies of an Oni book. You know what I'm saying? Like, but we, when we have the opportunities, for instance, Little Bird, Image does a lot of like returnability. We ordered the hell out of Little Bird #1 because I'd gotten to read it beforehand, right? Darcy sent me a copy of it.
So good.
And we sold out because we pushed. I told everybody, I was like, you got to push Little Bird today. This book is fucking awesome. Anyway, Brian, did you read it?
I did. Yeah. Mike had it put in my box and because I didn't know about it.
People were like, what's this book? We're like, Mike's friend wrote it. You got to buy it or Mike's going to get pissed.
Yeah. But no, I'm happy with it. Yeah. I had a great time reading it. Yeah. It was a really fun book. And I didn't sign up for it. And I think issue 2 comes out next week. So I'm hoping you ordered an extra copy or 2 because I do want to keep it going. I think it's only 3 issues. Though,
yeah,
so
it is.
And it's got some great artistic talent. Like Daniel Hilliard does one of the stories. Jordi Perez does one. So it's a pretty good one.
Yep.
That's a real good pick, Greg. It was on my list, so I had to scratch that off. So
Nice.
All right, and we're back around to me. All right. Let's see. I had to shift some things around because Junkyard Joe got picked. I'm going to go all against all #3.
Oh, damn it.
From our fair enough, right? All against all #3 from our friend Alex Packnadell and our friend Casper Wingard and Hassan Osman El Hal as the letterer, right? Absolutely a fantastic book. We've talked about it before. I think it's a cool concept. Basically, jellyfish aliens that need to harvest biotechnology from other planets to make these flesh suits they can inhabit. They're at war with another race. The war is escalating, so they're trying to find more militaristic applications. So they're at Earth. They're trying to recreate all the species, the lost species of Earth, because it's been destroyed. And so they get all these animals and these like biomes and these biodomes, right? And it's kind of sickly because they don't really know what to do. They don't know that polar bears need a different environment than, say, the lions or this or that, right? And there's one human there named Helpless, right? And holy freaking cow. So it's kind of like Alien and Predator, where you got the evil alien stalking and killing all of the humans one by one. It's like that, but the inversion of it, because they do eventually take him. They're like, oh, he's smart, he's intelligent. We can utilize the biological functions of his body for our war suits, right? And then that was a bad mistake because basically they took the Predator from his home planet and put him on their ship with them. And it's going crazy. Now, there was a big tragedy at the end of issue 2. In issue 3, they kind of move that into a different direction that I was not expecting, but I loved it. You get to see through the narrative, you get to see through the captions what it's feeling like for this creature to inhabit these different bodies. Like he's in a wolf and he's feeling that drive, that the smells and the scents and all that kind of stuff. And he's in the bird. And I just thought it was so incredibly well done. Casper Wingard's artwork. Look at Homesick Pilots. Look at Limbo. Crisp, clean, blue, pink, purple. Look at this one. Raw, rough, textured, gritty, lots of greens, but it's sickly greens, right? It is so freaking fantastic. I love All Against All. What about you, Nick? What'd you think?
Well, I mean, if my reaction didn't say it enough, I mean, that was the next book I had in line for to talk about. But yeah, Casper's art. This is the style that I prefer. The books you just mentioned there, they're all great, but I prefer this art style because the grittiness, the sketchiness, the rawness that you're talking about is very, very prevalent inside of this book. And I think I love issue 3s because issue 3s typically there's a turning point in like a 5-issue run, and issue 3 is a little bit of like a a retrospective look. It gives you a little bit more detail, gives you a little bit more information of where we are. And this book exactly does that. And you went over all those high points. I loved the idea that these like squid aliens, I love that they kind of jump from body to body, whatever's the more advanced version, so they can continue this war on. And I loved all the narration and internal dialogue that we had jumping from animal to animal. So that was a really interesting point there. And then your comment about bringing Predator out of his environment and bringing him back into yours, that's exactly right. That's exactly what happens inside of here. So it's a very, very cool book, beautifully drawn, beautifully written, and man, I can't recommend it enough. It was a great pick, man.
Yeah, and Haas's lettering, holy
beautiful. Yeah,
like, and I know that
perfectly matches the tone for sure.
Yeah, and Haas and Aditya are homies, like they're friends, right? And I feel like they're both just really trying to outdo each other right now. They're just like, fuck it, like, you know. And the way that like Haas is utilizing like different colored fonts for the different beings and things, and it works so well with the artwork. Yeah, and like Haas is really good at that, and like making it more ingrained into the artwork and becoming part of the storytelling, which I think is phenomenal.
Yep.
What about you, Manny? Did you read this one?
Hell yeah, I read this one. I continue to enjoy it. I think when I read All Against All, especially this issue, what I see is I see a story of like the people that are in power, these aliens that are so supreme over all these other things. They're just rounding people up to get what they can out of them. They don't care if the environment is healthy. They don't care whether they should be together. It's simply what can they do to these beings to get what they need out of them. And I think that there's something poignant being said about what happens when we don't care about the helpless and we don't have compassion for the helpless, and then the helpless come back and kick our ass. Like I feel like there's something to be said about haves and have-nots, elites and us regular people. I think that that's a big point to the story. I do like that the scientist character is jumping from body to body because he's learning about the creatures and compassion. He was already on a road to understanding helpless and having compassion for the creatures of Earth. Now he's getting in on the ground floor, which I think is interesting. And I think that the way that it ends is going to have, if it ends in tragedy, it will have an impact on that character and the way that character sees the machinations of his people's war. And if it doesn't end the way that it looks like it's going to end, that can also help with, solidifying the idea of compassion and change. So I think that there's definitely some different ways it could go. Really smart story. I really dig it.
Yeah, I really do too. And when we had Alex on the show, he was talking about like with the Tarzan story. He always thought it was troublesome and kind of quite dumb to him that this idea that of nature over nurture, right? Like that Tarzan would be a sophisticated man just because he was a white man. Even though he was raised in the jungle, he was able to be sophisticated and overcome all those impulses. And he goes, nah, that's not helpless. That's not what's going to be happening here at all. Nope. This dude is the predator. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I love it. And you're right, Brooklyn man, totally overlooked. Both of them, 100%. It's every year that starts my Eisner rant. Right there is the lettering. Like seriously, is the lettering nominations and them never being it pisses me off.
So important.
Brian, what do you think about All Against All?
Yeah, I absolutely loved it. I mean, when you're talking about Haas and Aditya, they're I think Aditya started lettering first and then kind of brought Haas up to speed and Haas,
didn't Dennis tell us that he was the one that kind of twisted Haas's arm into getting into lettering?
Yeah. And Haas has that strip panel naked show, and he studies film. I think the way he uses a lot of that knowledge and visual, just visual storytelling in the lettering, right? He brings a different level to it, he's really close to those white noise guys. So, and Aditya is too. Both of them are, and they're both. So like we get a treat because like a lot of their books, they brought Aditya and Haas with them pretty much wherever they're going. Because, Aditya's even doing the DC books that Rom does, and Dennis too, he's part of that crew and everything.
Yeah, the first time I ever saw Aditya Biddekar's work was on Maxwell's Demons.
Yep. Yeah, I think that's where I noticed him, right? Where I was just like, this is really good stuff here. that it's books by these guys like the White Noise and Dennis and stuff like that well, I feel lucky to be a comic book fan, in this time period, because all those guys, like everything they do, they have these insane concepts and they work, and then they get good artists, and the artists make amazing choices. Everybody's making really good choices and everything lands so well. And this book, each issue keeps getting better to me. I don't know. I don't know how to describe it better than that. I mean, each one, I'm just more and more compelled, by what's going on. And the first issue was a banger, I mean, I don't, it's weird how she's just keep leveling up. But I did want to show off this one. I don't normally buy more than one cover. But this one I had to, because Adam Gorham did this one.
Yeah.
And he did a process video to show how he got those whites, to really just pop and everything to get that X-ray feel. I go check out I think it was either on Facebook or Instagram. He's got a good video on there showing that stuff. And it's just fascinating, seeing that develop. And so once I saw that video, I was like, yeah, I'm gonna have to grab, I'm gonna have to grab that one. It's just it's too cool.
Yeah, I don't usually like to double dip for cover's sake either, but on issue number 1, I had to get the Spawn variant as well, just to have a Casper doing Spawn. It was so fucking awesome. It was great. What about you, Greg? You reading this one?
So it's a Junkyard Joe situation again. You all talked about it last month, so I picked it up, issue 1. Haven't gotten to issue 3. I was like, don't worry, Nick's not going to talk about this again for a second time in a row, but luckily, well, you were going to anyways, Nick. So stop. So
guilty.
You were going to anyways. You and Robbie both. So now it's going to be the same situation. I'm going to read all of these issues next week or next month. I'm going to come ready to talk about it. And you guys are like, oh man, this sucked. Like, it jumped the ship here.
No, I doubt that severely.
No. So I'm excited. This is why I like doing the show. Like,
yeah,
I take notes every time of stuff if you guys are talking about it. And I haven't read it. And getting to read Junkyard Joe, getting to All Against All, Nemesis was one you guys talked to. I'm writing these notes down, stuff I missed. So kudos. So yeah, but no, I haven't read it.
Nice. All right, Nick, outside of All Against All, what's your second pick of the month?
That's it.
That's all that was I had.
That's it.
That's
all I had. No, I have a stack of books here. I'm trying to figure out which one I even want to talk. At this point, it's like there's so many good ones out there. So one that I want to bring up is Swamp Thing Green Hell, Jeff Lemire,
huge.
Doug Mankey. I know this is what it is. And
I have a video queued up, and now I gotta switch.
Next one we're going to talk about is 8 billion Genies. I'm sorry. I'm going to go back into it. So Swamp Thing Green Hell. So we have issue number 2, Jeff Lemire. I love Black Label book, first off, which I really appreciate, because this book is pretty grand, and I like the usage of all the space for the art on here. I think they do a pretty good job with that, especially some of the larger double spread pages. Now, John's Comics with Kids, he knows what that's called when you actually have 2 consecutive splash pages like this. And I don't know if it's called a spread or what, but
yeah, it's a double page spread.
Yeah. So it's a great book. Now, this book came out. When did the first issue even come out? Maybe the summer?
Last year.
Yeah, it was the summer or early fall.
It was last year in winter.
Right.
It wasn't even like last year.
June.
It was 2000. No, it was
August?
2021. It was winter of 2021.
Yeah, December, November, or something. Yeah.
Because I only know that because I had David Barron on my show that winter, and he was talking about that he was coloring with this book. I was like, oh, I can't wait. Picked it up, and then a year and a half later, we get issue 2. Luckily, I knew where my first issue was, so I could reread it.
Yeah. So Verno, yeah, man. I mean, we're on issue 2. We just explored here. So I thought it was a pretty good second issue. I mean, issue number 1 was great. And I think I understand the parliaments now. What is it? Like the rot, the decay, and the green, I think, if I'm not mistaken. I think we have these 3 parliaments that are
the red, the black, and the green.
The red, So they're
like flesh, plants, and decay.
Yeah, like the rot. Yeah, exactly. So
we have the Parliament of Gears. Now
we had the Parliament of Gears happening at the same. Well, at least that run actually ended, which was pretty fun. But this was a great little issue number 2. I thought it was interesting because I like Constantine. I like his I like his mannerisms. I like his I'm gonna do whatever I can do to like solve my little issue, and I'm gonna be like deceptive at the same time. I just like that character. So Constantine's cool, and I like how he plays around with Swamp Thing inside of this issue too. But essentially, we have like this dystopian kind of a future. We have some surviving humans out there. We have the different parliaments taking over the earth again. Swamp Thing's in like retirement right now. He has this agreement with the Green where he can essentially, the way I equate it to is like be jacked into the Matrix. Like he's in this false reality where he's with his family, just kind of chilling. That was my understanding of what's going on in here, because I don't think those characters are real in here, but he's kind of living his best life.
They're all comics. None of them are real.
None of them are real. Well, that's true. That's true. Well, for us in this panel, they're real, right? So,
well, in a multiverse, with infinite realities, right? I mean, ask Grant Morrison.
That's right. But yeah, this was a cool book. I mean, we're bringing Swamp Thing back into relevancy inside of this world here, and he has to battle between like getting back to his family or helping humanity, and he's shocked at like how everything has kind of gone to hell, basically, into a green hell, right? And so we have the Green and all the different parliaments going back out, trying to wipe humanity off the face of the earth because they probably deserve it. But there's always that little fight inside of humanity to stay alive, and we have Swamp Thing teaming up with them, and he's really shocked at what he sees right here. And then, of course, we have Constantine also going out and getting help from some other guys as well. So I think it's going to make a really good, interesting issue number 3. But I thought it was a cool number 2. I was really looking forward to it. Obviously, we spent like a year waiting for it. We finally got to, and I think it did a pretty good job. I will say, you know, coming off of Ron V's run with Spicer and Perkins, it's like I was used to a certain flavor of Swamp Thing and how he was drawn and how the scenery was. And this is a more classic, stylized version of Swamp Thing, I would say, but there's still that little grotesque element that they throw into here, which really helps transition out of that into here. So I thought it was a cool number 2. Did you guys read it? What did you guys think?
Yeah, I thought it was good. I liked it. I was worried because it had been so long since issue 1, and I did not reread issue number 1.
I didn't either.
I did. I had to.
Nice. I was able to get right back into the story. Because I was reading, I was like, oh, that's right. The Greens, like let's just wipe out humanity, and they're teaming up with the red and the black, right? Like, and I jumped right back into it. My one issue, and I did like the book, but Doug Mahnke, the artist, a veteran in this industry, I've been reading his work since the 90s on Superman stuff, right? Fantastic artist. There was a step down in art, which Jeff Lemire doesn't usually have a lot of late books. So it makes me think that the process, obviously, they've been having trouble getting a lot of the DC Black Label stuff to the printer because it requires different paper. It's more whatever. So a lot of that stuff's been spread out. But I also feel like there was a delay in the art, and I hope that it's not some kind of health related thing going on, but it looks stepped down. It looks a little bit simpler. It looks a little bit more rushed. And for a book to be this late and feel a bit rushed and not up to the standard, I am concerned. I hope everything's okay. I don't know anything, but I did like the book. I thought it was great. And Constantine and Alec, how they work together.
Beautiful.
It's so funny. And Jeff Lemire knows how to do that. He writes a hell of a Constantine, and he has for a long time. What about you, Manny? You read this one? I know it was supposed to be the next one you talked about.
It was. I far and away, I am a Lemire. Wow, this animation is way slower than I thought. Lemire lover. So I can't get through any of these shows without talking about Jeff Lemire. This was really good. I love that my wife can be reading a comic and I hear a giggle and we look at each other and our eyes meet and we both can say spooky magic shit, because that line was so fucking hilarious in this. I like the what do you want to say? The Clint Eastwood of it. Like, can a hero ever truly rest? Have you ever really done enough? Like, can you reach a point where you've saved the world enough that you're like, you know what? I can go live with Abby and Tiffy in like a magical treehouse and the world can take care of itself. Like, at what point does a hero's responsibility end? And I love that Constantine, the most dubious, conniving, untrusted hero in the DC universe, is the guy still on the ground, still the unlikely savior of the world, still the one holding shit down. Like, I like that. I like that Swamp Thing's just off and about. I do worry a little bit about what the Green is doing to Abby and T. Like, that's not supposed to be something that sticks in your mind, but the tree specifically tells Swamp Thing that is their souls. Why does his adult daughter want to live as a child in a treehouse with her mom and dad? Like, didn't she have her own life? Doesn't she? And I dwelled on that way longer than I should have. But other than that, I thought the book was really good. I liked the artwork. I love, there's the, like Nick was saying, the grotesque elements, especially like when the like the swamp stuff's like coming out of that guy's,
face.
severed head. Yeah, it's like, oh, that was so
cool.
gnarly. I liked it. Yeah, it was a good book. Definitely a good read.
As far as why Tiffy would want to live with her mom and dad as a kid forever, she must have hit 40. Right? Like, and when we all hit 40, we're all like,
screw this.
Can we just go back home to like Masters of the Universe, Karate Kid, you know, and like good snacks, you know, like when Doritos tasted better, when Count Chocula was made with actual oats instead of corn, you know, that kind of a joke.
Robbie wants some Pepsi, Pepsi Crystal.
I want some Crystal Pepsi, baby. You know I do. And I want some pizzeria chips. And I want, come on, man.
Pizza
I want them
good.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle fruit pies.
Yes. Oh my goodness. The vanilla. Oh, bruh. The vanilla pie, right? Yeah. With the,
yeah.
Yes, I want that. I want the turtle cereal. I want the Spider-Man cereal. Come on. I want oatmeal swirlers. I want Squeeze-Its. I want Teddy Grahams. Do they still make Teddy Grahams?
They do. Oh, yeah, they do.
Yeah.
And they brought back Dunkaroos.
They're not the same.
They're at Sam's Club. There's like 48 of them in a package.
No, it's Teddy Grahams are a staple in our house. So
well, I'll tell you what, because they brought back Dunkaroos and those things are shit now. Okay, I'm just saying they changed these things cheaper. Okay, anyway.
The cookie is like crumblier now. I don't like it because they still give you that lard-based frosting and they break.
Yeah.
It's
just lard with sprinkles and sugar.
Just Crisco with sugar. Yeah.
Hey,
my kids are too fucking soft. They're 2020s. Like my kids are like, oh, this is too sweet. I'm like, what the fuck is wrong with you? You know, I love you, but what the hell?
Like, Dad, I want some avocado toast, please. Can you get rid of this Cinnamon Toast Crunch?
So the kids from Grown Ups.
You're gonna have your Kool-Aid and Cinnamon Toast Crunch and fucking like it.
Make them freaking peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. My kids are asking for mint chutney and naan. It's like, what the fuck?
Dad, you overcooked the salmon for my lunch today that you had.
Oh my goodness.
Brian, speaking of overcooked salmon, Brian likes the salmon over hard. What do you think about Green Hell? Did you read it?
I did. Yeah, I liked it a lot. And I mean, it has the sad dad aspect. So, I mean, it's keeping in line with the...
That's true.
Jeff Lemire thing. So
that's right.
That's right.
Yeah, no, when I saw that it was on the list coming out, I was like, oh yeah, I remember that book. Yeah, it was so yeah, I don't know. I loved it. And I agree. I think the art, seemed a little different, but I mean the layouts were good. I mean the storytelling pieces of it it just didn't seem like it was as rendered maybe. But yeah, I mean, it's a really good Swamp Thing book, and I'm a sucker for a good Swamp Thing book, man. Swamp Thing's
for sure.
It's always one of my favorite characters.
All right, now we're throwing it over to the Teddy Grahams expert, Greg. What did you think about Swamp Thing? Did you read it?
Yeah, and we got grams on grams on grams. So you want to just come, we'll hook you up.
Grams.
And you can dip your Teddy Grahams into the homemade Dunkaroos stuff that
you got a bucket of Crisco and some
no, Mrs. Bearded can make the Dunkaroo like it used to, and so it's delicious. So I like this a lot. I love this cover, like the subtleness of Swamp Thing and the smoke of the cigarette is just really cool. I agree with everything that you guys said, so I'm not gonna reiterate everything. I love the kind of the Frankenstein aspect that we get, the vibe with the little girl and Swamp Thing. Just the idea that he's giving up his powers, that he's now very vulnerable. But it still is just like he's just doing some fantastic stuff with breaking characters from the green in half and ripping them apart. Like, it just is really cool and really fun. I agree with everything you guys said about the art. Like, for being a year away, it feels like, man, something felt off a little bit, but I'm glad that we got it, because I know I wasn't as big on Rom's V Swamp Thing run as you guys were, so I'm glad that at least I can enjoy a Swamp Thing book with you guys.
Yes, it's nice to come together over Swamp Thing,
right?
Yeah, it's a nice family thing to do. Manny, what you got?
I'm gonna go something a little less esoteric, a little less. I'm going Shirtless Bear-Fighter, issue number 7. This one was good. It was gigantic moronic splendor, and I really liked how it picked up, because 6 was kind of lackluster, and this one gave me everything I want about Shirtless Bear-Fighter. Not only is there a shirtless bear fighter, there's a pantsless shirtless bear fighter. There's a bunch of multiversal shirtless bear fighters and a giant glowing bear. And not only are all of these elements coming together for some amazing action set pieces, we top it off. We cherry on top of it by adding a giant kaiju made out of dead bears and robots. Like, I freaking love this book. It makes zero sense, and it's not trying to. And it perfectly sets up another arc. Just a big, dumb, fun book.
Yeah, that's one I'm not reading actually, but my shop owner loves that book so much. But I mean, like, it sounds so insane, and so it's like, is when we take off more clothes, is that like a Super Saiyan, like a level up, like a power up, like we get more and more powerful the less clothes we wear?
If he wears his shirt, it trumps his powers.
Yep.
Like that's why he's always
okay.
He
takes his pants off. He's like Super Saiyan 2.
No. The pants is a different character. So
it's a multiverse character.
Yeah, his name is Shirtless. Gotcha. And he's a bear fighter. Okay. His evil doppelganger is a pantsless guy who does wear a shirt, just a vest. And he is pantsless, shirtless bear fighter because he's fighting shirtless bear fighter.
And how can you tell them apart otherwise?
Naming convention.
Got it.
And yeah, it's so good.
I missed out on that one.
The pixelation on this book, I've never seen more pixelation in my entire life.
Oh my goodness!
I can only imagine.
Battle fight.
Now you have a female shirtless bear fighter as well in this story.
Oh no!
It's yeah.
That poses a problem with the censors, I would imagine.
There's a southern a redneck pig who's also a warlock. There's the constellation Ursa Major is the villain, and they are aided on their quest by a Valkyrie bear named Ursa Minor. So I mean, it's this whole lore and mythology built around it. And it's really good. You should read it.
Yeah.
Is this?
I haven't read it either. I'm gonna have to check them out.
It's the end of volume 2. So volume 1 you've got to read because I mean, as much as I've enjoyed this volume 1 was fantastic. Like, it came out the gates running. Now volume 2 is definitely slipped into the kind of multiverse, vibe of you've got all the variations of Shirtless Bear-Fighter here, and and it's fun. It's a lot of fun, but you got to. I mean, it's called Shirtless Bear-Fighter. So if you're gonna come on their highbrow and just be like, "Well, listen, guys, like
put the pinky out, put the pinky back in, right?
Then just put it back in, like, because it's it sells it straight up, like, this is what it is, like, just enjoy it."
Awesome.
Yeah, I tried to read it with my pinky out, and that's why I haven't been reading it. I guess it was just too lowbrow for me. But no, I haven't been keeping up with that one. I remember reading it when it first dropped, the volume 1, and I don't know what it was, but I just didn't stick with it. So, but I keep hearing people really, really, really responding. So, you reading it, Nick?
No, I'm not. I was asking all these questions about it. It sounds pretty interesting. It sounds like a good palate cleanser between like heavy material. It sounds like a good like high levity, just fun book. And so it might be something I need to start looking at if they do a volume 3.
You think I'm not going to be reading Shirtless Bear-Fighter when we have all the Teddy Grahams in our house? Like, come on.
It comes with Teddy Grahams, I heard.
Those are the bears you fight shirtless, right?
You have a camera in my house? Shoot, did I leave my live stream camera on? Dang it is.
Yeah, no kidding, right? All right, that was Manny. So Brian, what's another book you want to highlight?
Okay, I'll go with the finale for Pink Lemonade. Which,
God damn it!
Sorry,
I have to keep changing my list, man.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, you've already
You're
taken
all
two
a bunch
of mine.
Of assholes. You and Nick both, man. What's going on?
So it's because of this week, man. There's so many things came out. I mean, no, but yeah, I didn't know about this book until we did that August-September show, and Jen, I think from Comics Will Break Your Heart, brought it up, and her, based on her description, I went to the store the next day, I think, and grabbed a copy. I think only one had come out, so maybe 2, but was able to get all the issues and everything like that. But yeah, it's just a great homage to cartoons, comics, and things throughout the ages, and the concept of what those those characters are trying to get across and everything like that. Because like Pink Lemonade is just kind of this pure concept of, you know, good and, you know, just always trying to do the right thing and everything. And you know, yeah, and I thought it wrapped up really well, and it, you know, it could definitely keep going, you know, I mean, but it definitely wrapped up, you know, it you know, she defeated the villains and everything like that, and you know, and it did have that kind of hero's journey aspect. So like, you know, she had a guide, you know, basically the last issue, you know, doing that, and that was like, you know, I may have liked last issue better than this one. That last issue was so dope, and I know we talked about it a lot last on the last stream, but yeah, yeah. And here's that Levi's ad that they did. Yeah, I remember these from the '90s too. So it was it's pretty cool, and that's like that's the musician she gets for her show, Bithead.
Yeah,
you know,
Bithead.
and
Yeah, I
in
love
competition. It. Yeah, and yeah, it's yeah, I don't know, it's a really fun read, but there's heavy stuff in here, and I mean, there's, you know, one of the stories they're telling you is kind of the evolution of Batman, or, you know, the creation of Batman and everything like that. Cause like the, you know, the villain is basically Bob Kane from that story point, you know. I mean, he did some stuff to create Batman, but really, you know, Bill Finger did the lion's share of the work and then got no credit, you know, for decades and decades and decades. So, you know, that's touching to read that, you know, from that standpoint. But yeah, I don't know.
What I love about
really
Pink Lemonade is that it is tackling that subject of how the corporations treat intellectual property and how they don't respect it, and how they don't necessarily respect the fans or the creators or what it represents. And it's talking about, like you said, the Cane and Finger stuff, but it's doing it, and it never goes into like a bitchy, complainy, sour, like negative kind of perspective about it. Like it stays a bubbly, poppy, positive book, charming all the way through. And the character is so charming. And even when dark, twisted stuff is happening around her, she maintains this sense of bubble charm, very much like Madman. When I say that this book reminds me of Madman, yes, the pop culture references, you know, like, but Allred was making references to like 60s and 70s, right? Now Nick Cagnetti's getting to make references to like 80s and 90s. And we're like, so it's like, it's the Madman for this new generation, but it's not just so much about the aesthetic or the nostalgia or the retro nature of it at times. It's about the fact that the story can get dark, but the character and the vibe doesn't. It stays bouncy. It stays charming. It stays fun. We're working right now trying to get Nick lined up to do a conversation with me and Brian, because the book is over now. I would love it for it to continue, and the trade comes out in July. So we are working right now with Nick Cagnetti to have him come on and do a chat with us, because I cannot wait to hear about his process and just everything in his head and what comics he loves, because he references so much and he does it with so much love, passion, and joy. I cannot wait to have a conversation with him. Nick, you been reading this one?
I actually picked up 2, 3, 4, and 5. I'm missing number 1. So Robbie, if you got a copy, let me know. I might get.
I have to check. I might.
Here,
yeah.
Take it, Nick. Take it.
Take it. And then I'm missing number 6. So I have them. I just want to get into them. When you were mentioning Madman, that was really interesting, because I was flipping through this and you were talking about just like the art style. I'm like, this really has like an Allred style to it. And of course, I haven't read it, so I don't know what's going on, but it has that poppiness and that Madman feel just by, you know, just looking at the visuals. So I'm excited to get into it. I'm glad it has a lot of like depth to it. It's not just like a visual treat, but it actually has a lot to say. And it has all those cultural references that I'll be able to pick up on. So I'm excited. I have them right here. So this show works, as we've talked about it many, many times. We pick up the things we all like, and they're sitting right here. Just need that 1 and that 6, and I'll jump into them.
And Brian is right. Issue 5 is like one of the best comics of the last few months for sure. Like it's nice. Issue 5 is just absolutely splendid. I reread it, and wow, looks absolutely good. Manny, you reading this one?
Awesome.
I haven't read it. I paged through the first issue because 1 through 4 is on Comixology right now with Unlimited. So
nice.
I was able to check.
I'll get one there.
Was able to check those out. So I paged through it, and you're absolutely right. I mean, the Allred style of artwork is there. I'd say it looks like Space Age, but it's like loopy and shit. Like I'd say it's like I don't know. Fuck, I don't know where I'm going with that, but it's good. It's good. I just haven't read the words. The pictures look cool.
Nice. What about you, Greg? Did you read issue 1?
I read issue 1. So it's funny. I went to my LCS on Wednesday, and he's like, "Dude, you got a big pull list today." I was like, "I know." And he goes, "There's one of your like, I don't like. Did you order pink lemonade?"
Yeah.
I was like, "Hell yeah, I did."
It's like he was afraid to ask you in case he was wrong and you're going to get offended. No, I didn't order fucking pink lemonade.
Well,
I like yellow lemonade.
It's because I mean, I don't think he's ever, my shop is a very small shop that they can carry the big 2 and parts of some of the other ones because we just don't. There's so many other comic shops around that carry all the others. It's a newer one, so he doesn't get to carry as much because they just don't have the space either. But it definitely, so he's not picking up Ani.
Yeah.
But I read it, issue 1, and I was, you got all the aspects of what is it, OJ bot, and I walk that panel when they walk into, I'm not giving anything away, but that room, and I'm just like, this creator is a nerd, and
He's like us.
I'm like one of us.
Ah,
One of us.
sweet.
I was
That's
like,
awesome.
this is going to be a lot of fun. And I did. Everything that you talked about, like the funness of it, I'm now excited to hear that it's on Comixology because I'll go read those other issues and then pick up 5 and 6 and get the trade and all that jazz. But no, yeah, it was fun.
I found the panel you're talking about.
It's a real fun book. And this dude, like, it happened live during my weekly comic book review when I noticed the Levi homage in the back, right? Like, and I lost my fucking mind. I was like, I've seen this ad so many damn times.
So many times
before. They remember that there was a Cheez-It ad or whatever where it was like Spider-Man swinging and it was like, you could be in this comic. They did that with OJ Bot in the last issue.
If
right?
we get if they give me a Got Milk ad, that'll be fantastic because those were all over comic books in the 90s.
That Buffy one is still ingrained in my head, bro. You know what I'm saying, man?
Yes, I do.
Yeah. And then there's the Tony Hawk one. There's a bunch of good ones, but the Buffy one, that one really.
I used to collect the Got Milk ads.
Nice.
Yeah, when you were talking about Bubbly thing, that was one thing I liked about the character too, is like how positive she was and her effect on all the other people around her, right? And that's kind of what the good ones, the good shows, and that stuff was meant to do, right? And everything, and work together, and all these things. Like, it's positivity, but it's not overwhelming. It's not. You know what I mean? I don't know.
It's not. It doesn't ring false.
Right.
It doesn't
It's
feel
genuine.
forced.
Right.
Yeah, it feels genuine. Exactly. It's authentic. Speaking of authentic and genuine,
Nice.
well, nobody here is authentic and genuine. But Greg, why don't you just go ahead and tell us what your next book you want to spotlight is? We're all shills for whatever books we're talking about. Obviously, every book we talk about, we've been paid.
Yes.
Sponsored by Marvel.
Oh, wait, I got to get the ones that pay me. Hold on, let me get a Kickstarter book here.
Where's your whatnot books?
Oh, by the way, there's going to be a very exciting Kickstarter announcement like within the next week or two. I'm hearing. So you guys pay attention. Watch this space.
I'm just all right. I'll go with this one. I'll go with one that dropped yesterday. That I think a lot of people are talking about, and I really enjoyed issue 1, Local Man,
Nice.
from Image. Tim Seeley and Tony Fleece. So Tony Fleece did Stray Dogs and Time Stoppers, and Tim Seeley's done everything. It's kind of funny. Tim Seeley, wasn't he on Grayson, like kind of like shepherding in Tom King?
He was, yeah.
Yeah, and
Because they didn't trust Tom King.
Yeah.
But now they fucking do.
But the whole idea,
awesome, by the way.
it is. The whole concept of this is you have a superhero who was a part of a Justice League style team that is basically dismissed, let go. They don't tell you the reason, but they kind of imply that you think you have some idea of what happened. But he basically has to go just back to his hometown in this like one stoplight town. Everyone knows your name kind of thing. And everyone hates him. His parents hate him for whatever he did. And, he was going to be the one that made it out. This was their big shot, the town to have something, and it almost kind of gets a vibe of like from the boys storyline of where the Deep, kind of like gets into some stuff. I love that Tony and Tim are both they're co-writing and co-arting it and Tony's doing the small town vibe stuff. Tim's doing the superhero vibe. And so it's one of those, you flip over the back of the book and it's got the other side of the comic for a couple. It's actually the first time I care about a backstory, because I'm like, oh, now let's get to know a little bit more about this character. So I really liked it. And this is a world that I'm just intrigued to see because I'm a big fan of what Tony does. And Tim, as always, I think has made a lot of great comics as well. So to have them together, I'm excited.
Yeah, I really liked this book. I was very impressed. And yeah, not only is he a former member of a superhero team, it's an Image team from Image continuity that didn't exist back then, right? But like they're acting like it does. He even in one point goes, "I saved the world from freaking Malbolgia." You're like, "Bro, really? You were there?"
So,
like, that's wild.
Question that Robbie is the team that he's a part of. That's a made up team in continuity, right?
As far as I'm aware, it's made up, but I love how they
reference the Brigade and other teams in that universe. Okay.
Yeah,
sorry, go ahead.
Exactly. So I love that feeling of it and I love the 90s nostalgia of it, right? Because they even had the foil cover with the flip book, right? And Image did that all the damn time, and I loved that. What really impressed me, first of all, big fan of Tony Fleece. Like Tony is such a cool dude. I got to meet him at Heroes Con and have a beer with him. He was a super fun guy. He introduced me to Jason Latour. We hung out for a little bit. He's a great dude. We've had him on the show. He actually is so cool. We had him on the show one day, the day that my computer died, right? And I had to borrow my girlfriend at the time's laptop. And so we were wound up like 45 minutes late into doing the show. He's cool. Yeah. He's just sitting there waiting. Whenever you're ready, bruh, let's do it. I was like flustered and anxious, and he wound up being on the show just because I was shit talking the movie Annabelle, right? Because they had done a Annabelle parody cover for Stray Dogs, and I commented on my video, "This is bullshit. I want more like classic stuff. I don't want some modern bullshit like Annabelle." And he commented and he goes, "Oh, I chose that one because that's my buddy who wrote that movie." And I'm like, I missed him. And I'm like, "Bro, Tony, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to insult your friend." He's like, "Dude, he made shit money on that movie. Who gives a shit?" Like, say what you will, man. It was great. So I was really impressed because Time Stoppers, Time Hoppers, what, right?
Time Stoppers, yeah.
Yeah.
Time Shoppers. Time Shoppers.
Yeah, Time Shoppers. Looking at that, looking at Stray Dogs, which Trish did, but he did some work there too. But it's My Little Pony. His artwork here is not what I was expecting.
Exactly.
At all. It's like Sean Phillips-esque. Like, it's grounded. It feels very real. And I was not expecting so much nuance in his artwork, and it blew me away. Did you read this one, Nick? Because you got it in front of me.
Yeah, I certainly did. You know what? If you strip away all the details, it has the core of the story is very reminiscent of like Radiant Black, which I love the theme of that story. But basically, like somebody who's kind of fallen from grace a little bit, goes back home and has to deal with like the parents and the family and the town and all that stuff, and it brings back all those bad memories. So it's a very relatable story. I liked it a lot. I like the art in here too, and I'm really intrigued about there's references about what he did to get kind of exiled. And I mean, you can infer what's going on there. There's that glance, right? That one character gives him in a couple of panels in here. So you can kind of infer what's happening. But I'm intrigued for sure. I like where it's going. The character seems interesting. And I like the fact that it's like a double-sided thing. So you get a taste of like the 90s Image version of this team. And he's kind of like the new guy on the team. And he's like questioning their methodologies and stuff like that a little bit. Maybe he's not 100% on board, and then you get your actual story on the other side. So I thought it was a really creative way of doing that as well, to give you that perspective on both sides. So I like number one. It was on my it was definitely my rapid fire. So good pick, man.
That flip cover though ticked me off because the one shop that I went to, because mine didn't get it and I forgot to put it on my poll, had all the superhero covers showing up front. And I was like, dang it, they don't have any of the A covers, because I didn't know it was one of those.
It was flipped around and backwards.
So they had them all. And I was just like, I'm still going to get it. I was like, I don't care. And I never flipped it over to see. I just grabbed it. And then I threw it in my pile and I looked, I'm like, oh, I did get the A cover. Okay, this is better.
Yep.
Did you read this one, Manny?
No, I did not. I got it. I haven't read it yet.
Okay. Well, you mean you knew the show was coming.
I did
last month, right? Like
I did.
Yesterday.
Tiff read it like I don't know 15 minutes before the show, so I
what
didn't
did
get
Tiff
to it until now. She liked it. She's not a fan of the of some of the costume choices for some of the team. I don't know, the Image team, but she's not really into the 90s shoulder pads, big costume things, and the lack of costuming on some of the other characters. But
I really dig on that stuff.
But other than that, I don't know the story.
I like all my women in just shoulder pads.
She seemed to enjoy the story itself, though.
Nice. Brian, did you check this one out?
Nope, that's not one I got to. I'm looking forward to reading it though. But yeah, I could not get to that. 23 books is a lot of books in a week for me.
That's all you had to read this week. Must be nice.
I even took the afternoon off to try to read everything, but yeah, I still wasn't able to get to. I think I still have 8 left.
All right, I'm just going to tell you guys, Manny, Brian, I'm not mad, but Brian is severely. I mean, Greg is severely disappointed in Brian and Manny. I'm just telling you.
Do you need to move him again, like further away from me? Or?
No. I'm
want to
okay.
give that
You can
top
put
left
them
spot?
here. There you go. Perfect.
What's up, Nick?
I got you, bud. Don't worry about it.
I can't
You
allow.
know,
It. I'm sorry.
I-
It's just something
I
inside
think-
me that I can't allow that.
I think I'm just more disappointed because I literally was on my app looking. I'm like, is Shiloh Cowboy coming out this? I better read this issue. Otherwise, I'm gonna be like that dumb kid again in school who's just like, you guys talk about every month, but I was just
Damn it, Saga's out. Shit, I gotta read.
I know. I was like,
You ain't read Saga yet?
Gotta read 62 issues of Saga.
I'm getting sick of reading Batman books, thinking Greg's gonna pick them, and then he never fucking picks them. So I'm like,
I
gosh, you're
don't.
wasting all this time.
I don't.
That's why you didn't get to Local Man yet, because you had to read 8
I
Batman.
did. I read
books.
Clayface.
Greg
Clayface, that was fucking good though. But either way, I did
That's
read
funny.
Clayface first.
Oh, Clayface was good.
That was good.
So good.
Clayface was really good. I like that. All right, that's all of us, right?
That's Robbie's next pick.
I think we're back to you.
Shit, back to me. All right, well, I've had to move this one around. So let me just go ahead. I'm going to go with this one. But first, I got a disclaimer. I do not necessarily find cannibalism sexy.
Oh boy.
Okay. I just want to let everybody know. And yes, that's a t-shirt. So with that quote, we need that's a t-shirt, right? Lovesick, number 5. Earlier this month, I had a pick of the week, and I said, I'm picking this book because so many times we like to spotlight issue number 1s in particular, right? But sometimes it's really good when you see a book that does an issue number 5 correctly. Well, they do that with Lovesick. This book is so good. What's Lovesick about? It's about this woman named Domino. She is like a dominatrix, right? I guess, right?
Kind of. Yeah.
Yeah. And so she's got like an online following of people, these dudes who want to be present at a live show, one of her live dirty, naughty shows, in which they will be humiliated by Domino and then eventually killed and eaten by Domino, right? So that's interesting. It's kind of like Red Room, but very sexy and very unnervingly sexy, right? Like there are moments that are so hot, but also really kind of disturbing and disgusting at the same time. And in the last couple of issues, we've dived into the past of Domino and what has led to this person, what has happened in her life to lead to this point. And it's a story that is demeaning and degrading. It's a story that is disgusting. It is a story that is disturbed, and any other D word I can think of that means kind of that same line. This book, demented. That's a good one. This book is demented. It is fucked up, and I get really aroused reading it for some reason, and I don't know why. And it's kind of disturbing me just a little bit. There's some things I guess I got to explore in my own life, cannibalism not being one of them. However, this book is really fucking good. It is sexy and it's hot and it is gross and nasty. And I'm like, This is like my favorite thing, sexy and nasty. Let's get to it. Speaking of nasty Nick, what you got? What do you think about this?
This is stuff I explored on OnlyFans, and it's just skyrocketing viewership. So I mean, like it's like an owner's manual for how to be successful on OnlyFans. And so yeah, I want to say I disagree, but I don't with anything you just said in here. It's a very interesting book for sure. I mean, if you're one of those people who like, if you don't have any dogs, but yet you have like a huge dog crate next to you and you have like a dog bowl and some like chains and you have some like leashes and stuff, you're going to be into this kind of a book, I think, for sure. The cannibalism part is an interesting twist to the whole thing. I think in this
interesting twist.
It's an interesting twist. Because this book is
I read 2 books this week about sex and cannibalism, by the way, because Plush was the other one, right?
That was a good issue.
Yeah, but did you take a cold shower after Plush? Is what the audience
Plush
wants
is
to know.
I'm not in stuffed animals, but
Not in the
Lovesick.
furries with okay, gotcha. Yeah, this book is crazy. So we talk a lot about, or in this book, they talk a lot about like the brainwashing of the people that are engaged in these activities in here. And I think this is an exploration of how she became kind of brainwashed into this lifestyle. The story is really interesting because it's like she's all about it in the first couple of issues. She's running this thing, but she has this like a constant nightmare that she's experiencing where like these victims of her own creation kind of come back and take her out, and it brings her anxiety, yet she has this weird confidence at the same time. So I'm still trying to like unpack that dual personality that she has. But the last couple of issues have been a lot about her origin story, like you said, and it's everything you just mentioned there. It's a very interesting book. Very, very, very cool book. Get your showers ready, get your cold showers ready, and you're going to learn a little bit about yourself when you read that book. So yeah, totally agree.
I just love how much everybody loved the whole Robbie's disturbed again, trying to describe Lovesick, and then he's telling everybody, like, making sure I'm not into cannibalism, like, just so you know. Can y'all see me? Can y'all hear me?
Yeah, you're good.
Yeah, I'm just trying to figure out a way that I can switch spots with Brian again because I feel uncomfortable underneath you too.
More comfortable with Manny because Manny, I don't want to.
Not a drop.
I'm just imagining that you didn't read this one.
Not a drop. Not a drop.
I got some things
Greg,
to unpack.
you reading? Are me and Nick the only 2 perverts?
Are the only people?
I have not, and I'm kind of glad that I have the headphones on, so the missus isn't like, "What are you on again?" Like,
I gotta stop flipping through this.
I thought you said it was a comic book show. Where's the Superman talk?
Could someone turn
what
the
it
fan
sounds
on?
like, I should do a Mrs. Bearded reviews Lovesick show.
Oh, I would love to see that.
That would be something else.
Can we get Mrs. Bearded and Tiff together to review Lovesick?
Oh.
Manny's
It
like,
would
no.
have to be the April show because I'll be in Huntsville because I'm gonna have to crash on your couch. I'm absolutely certain of that.
Oh god.
Ryan, this isn't one you're reading either, is it?
No, I haven't been reading this one, even though you and Blake have been trying to push it on me, but I don't know.
That's awesome.
I'm hesitant.
I don't know why.
That's as good as that could have
Did
went, Robbie.
you not
It's
sell
really
it?
good. It's really good. No, it sells itself, man. Like I ain't got to try to sell Lovesick, dude. It sells itself.
It is
What's
good.
the artist and creator's name? Lupa.
What Vesticio or
or something like that?
Vesticio? Yeah, I don't know.
Fantastic book. And I remember when I first came out, I was like, this is kind of like Red Room with more butts, right? And then somebody let me know that this book was started in 2019, which would have been right around the same time. I think Ed was starting working on Red Room or coming up with the idea. So it's just one of those things where ideas kind of overlap, but it is way different.
Yeah,
than
and it's not all about the Red Rooms. It's like that's an aspect of it, but like it's going to a whole different direction too. So, yeah.
So Ed was like, there's too many butts in this one, so he needs to dial it back. And
I'm gonna dial back the butts.
There's not enough like ripping people's faces off, and that's what Ed was like. Gotcha, bro.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
Yeah,
Makes
more of the
sense.
gore
There's this
factor. The gore is in Red Room, and
Right.
I'm liking it, Manny. Hold on a second.
So I have a
don't necessarily find cannibalism sexy.
That was quick.
That's when it comes to sexy, Nick, that's the only way I roll. Right?
The best word in that whole sentence is necessarily.
Yeah.
I
Because that
love
leaves
seeing
room.
roll. I'd
It
love
will be
seeing-
larger when I do the final design. Necessarily will stand out in that.
Maybe italicize it or something. Yeah.
Speaking of Manny creating things, have we gotten an update on the report from getting the rights to Captain Planet?
Captain Planet.
It's with Nick Barucci.
It's in Nick Barucci's hand right now. I got to get back with him.
I have
because he said he would look into it, and then I pitched a whole idea about an all ages line for like Vampirella and Red Sonja.
Oh.
So,
I knew you emailed the publisher, you know.
Yeah, they sent me to CBS Media. CBS Media said they do not do the licensing for comic books and did not give me anywhere else to go. So I figured Nick.
The fact that you got that far though is impressive.
More importantly, have we heard back from Van Damme's people?
It's coming to Pop Culture. I put all the contact information says Pop Culture Philosophers at gmail.com. So you're gonna have to check that email address.
Okay, I will do. Will do. All right, thank you. All right. My favorite part of that whole bit was Nick's uncomfortable squirming when he was talking about the book. That was great.
Clip that. Yeah.
Nick, follow Lovesick up. What do you got?
What I don't even know. Let's see. Let's pick.
Nick's so distracted right now.
I know. I need to flip this
He's just
cover
thinking
over.
about butts and throats being ripped open.
I know. Yeah. All right. So, okay, let's get into Charles Soule, Ryan Brown. We have 8 Billion Genies, issue number 7.
I made a video of this one too.
Silver Surfer Ghostlight. No.
That almost made first week for pick of the week. That was a good book.
Yeah, I'm just trying to pick something that didn't come out yet. This didn't come out yesterday.
No, 8 Billion Genies. You're good.
8 Billion Genies, issue number 7. So this was a cool book. So Charles Soule, Ryan Brown. I can tell that Charles Soule really took his time to kind of like figure out what this world would look like. And we're really riding on the whole 8, the number 8 for this whole entire series, as you can imagine here. The first issue, I think we're all familiar with the premise, hopefully. But basically, everybody on Earth gets a genie all of a sudden. And so you have this ability to just wish for anything. But what I like is like the complexity and how he developed these rules, this whole system around it. Like the genies are used as a narrative device to really explain everything in this world, and are also used to kind of help our characters go about the terrain. Like they ask them questions and weird stuff like that, and they're actually very helpful aspects as well. But what's really cool about this book here, this particular issue, is this is actually like leading into 80 decades. I think it is 80 years past where we started with this initial run. And what's cool about that is like everybody that we know and cared about in the first 7 issues becomes not irrelevant, but they all go away because it's 80 years later. And the story adjusts from like their perspective and their impact on the world and how they help each other. The whole story switches into like the legacy of this event, like how it's impacting the world, how it's impacting, the universe and things like that. And then I think in the next issue, we're actually exploring the first 8 centuries. And so of course, like the landscape is going to completely shift inside of that issue here. And then the art, man, Ryan Brown's doing just an amazing job on the art and just trying to balance like all these different genies in this crazy imaginative world that we live in right now. And I just like the conclusion of some of the character story arcs and things like that again, the characters that we learned or we were introduced to in the first couple of issues. And I thought it did a great job. And so I'm interested in like the shift from the characters into like the legacy of the event itself. I think it's a really creative writing tactic, and the art was keeping up with it. I think it's great, man. 8 Billion Genies has been terrific. Issue number 7, we got 8 coming out soon, and I wonder if we're going to get a volume 2. I wonder if that's something they're going to be exploring.
I mean, it's the world is there, right? Like because I feel like ending at issue 7, like this is the complete story right here.
Yeah.
But now we're getting kind of the prequel as the 8th issue. So it'll be interesting to see. So I think issue 8 will tell if we're going to get more of how that goes, of like the vibe, because that's a lot to unpack in one issue.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah. Manny, you reading this one?
Absolutely. I love it. I like the progression of the story. So like in the first 8, like right away, immediately when the wishes come, you have this like whole generation of people that are super selfish and childish and wish for super selfish and childish things. And that like destroys the world, right? Then you have this next generation of people that are like so isolationist and defensive that they won't share their wishes with the world. Like there's so many wishes that between the idea guy and the lawyers and everyone else that they could fix the world. They know that they could make the world a better place, but instead they're just in their towers scared and bogarting their wishes. Like they're not sharing ideas, they're not sharing the wealth. And then this last generation, after 80 years, the kids don't even care about their wishes. Like they don't even care to use them. It's just like, so it's just this idea of like these different generations of people and eventually weeding out the old and the people that have allowed life to grow stagnant. And now this new generation of kids can set about, making a better future. I like that idea. I think that it's going to end with a world very similar to where it started. And I think that's because I mean the bar owner was a genie before. So I feel like
he survived this in the past or something like that.
Yeah.
Right?
So I feel like in 800 years, we're just going to end up at a bar again with the genie.
Yeah.
But I like it. I dig it. The genie's giving the finger, probably something I need on a t-shirt or a hat, like immediately. That was so immediately.
Was that not some of the best parts when they're talking to the idea man and they're just like, right? Like that's great. I love it. I love this. I love the experiment that's being done with structure, right? The first 8 seconds, the first 8 minutes, the first 8 days, first 8 weeks. Then you're like, where are we going to go at this point? They are wrapping up stories in this issue.
Exactly.
The whole last issue is just going to be a big epilogue about like where it goes from there, because they wrap up most of the threads here in this issue. And they usually, when you spend so much time developing one thing and characters, and then it could easily felt like this was rushed, but it didn't feel like that to me.
Right.
I adored the structure in this one. I loved the expansiveness of the scope and the scale in this one. I love that even though we're in the penultimate issue right now, wrapping everything up, Charles Soule and Ryan Brown are continuing to world build like crazy in the pages of 8 Billion Genies. I usually drop out of Charles Soule stuff like within 3 to 4 issues. I am enamored with this one. I am more than engaged. I am transfixed by this one. Greg, you reading it?
Yes, I am. And again, I'll be curious to see, because again, like I said, I feel like I've got a complete story. I'm happy with from ending at 7. It'll be interesting to see like how 8 adds on to that experience for me.
Yep.
Because those, like you said, Robbie, the storylines have all been wrapped up. They're all closed down. So it'll be interesting to see, does the scene, how it gets to where the world was, does that add to the story for me and enhance my experience more? But this feels like, because I feel like issue 8 is something that would usually be like issue 6 in a run like this, and then you end with issue 7 as 8. So I'd be curious to see, like you said, how they're structuring it. How is that going to affect my reading of it? Like, am I going to enjoy it more getting it now than getting the flashback where it slows down the story to set up? Will I appreciate the flashback more? So yeah, I'm here for it. I'm excited. They're both going to be at C2E2 this year, so I'm hoping to and Jenny Frisman's going to be there, and that cover from issue 1 that she did was beautiful.
Nice.
So,
Nice.
Oh, and they got a great set of variants for this one too, where like the variants are people interpreting wishes, right? Where like this one is like the genie looks like Einstein, so it's like about intelligence. But like my favorite was a Jim Rugg one where it was all about strength, and it was all like the type from like old, like Charles Atlas ads and stuff like that. That was a really, really freaking cool one. Yeah. What about you, Brian? You reading 8 Billion Genies?
No, I hadn't been reading that one, but it does sound good. I mean, I'll probably get the trade.
I guess you got some homework before next month. So.
Ooh, as a trade read, this would be great, because sometimes you can since people are progressing in age so quickly, sometimes it's hard to like connect them back a little bit, like their relationships. So like reading it in trade in one sitting, that would be a pretty unique experience. I think that would be really cool to do. Yeah, that's good call.
Yeah, and I've read a couple of
Oh, it's awesome.
I mean, I've read a couple of Charles Soule books that I really, really dug, but sometimes I don't know. I just haven't been able to get into them. So
is this the same team? Because I know Charles did Curse Words. Is Brown? Yeah, Brown's on it.
Brown's on that one too. Yeah.
And that one I dropped out of like after 2 issues or something. So now I want to go back and reread that because I'm loving this one so much.
Yeah, it's a good duo.
Yeah.
All right, Manny, what about you? What's the next one you got?
All right. Well, let's get a palate cleanser after Lovesick. Let's talk about Superman 1. No, let's not talk about that. It was good though. Let's go Kaya.
Yeah, it was good. Why are we not going to talk about Superman? Oh, Kaya.
Well, I don't. Here's the deal. Here's the deal. The deal is, I'm officially an indie shill. I only worship at the altar of anything not Marvel and DC, and I dislike Marvel and DC. So that being said, can I talk about Superman?
That adds up.
Guys, all these storylines that you're talking about are in DC and Marvel. Like,
screw it. All right, Big 2 love detected. All right. There's an error code, but I'm gonna do it. Okay. We'll talk about Superman. Superman was really well written. I thought Joshua Williamson did a good job of respecting our intelligence as readers. There was no big. It's a new number 1. There's no big ass expositional page at the beginning to explain where Superman has been. All of the flashback stuff is short and gets us to where we have to go. He sits at a computer and we see little bylines from Jimmy Olsen, or Jimmy Olsen's a photographer. We see, written by Clark Kent. It gives us everything we need to know. If for some reason you've been living under a rock and you have no fucking clue who Superman is, this catches you up very quickly with lots of fun visual cues like Polaroid pictures and images in a cape. I know that doesn't make sense, but it fucking works for the story. I liked it. The story itself, I don't know if the Super Corp stuff's going to pay off, but hell, Batman Incorporated is making some money with Ghostmaker. Let's do a Super Corp as well. Lex Luthor owning Super Corp, I think, is a really cool concept because he's still very manipulative and psychological. He's still fucking with Superman the whole time. So it's not an altruistic thing. It keeps Lex Luthor true to Lex Luthor. Clark is still the big blue Boy Scout that we all know and love. And it's a fun thing with Lois being the editor-in-chief. I think that's the cool little twist for this one that makes it different. So damn it, fine. We're going Superman for number 3.
All right, going with Superman, I will say this. I love the Supercorp stuff. Like, it's Lex messing with Superman. Like, we're going to give you these resources. You're going to do this and blah, blah, blah. And I just love it when Lex is fucking with Superman. That's great. The artwork, Jamal Campbell. It's got interesting perspective. It's dynamic. It is bigger than life. It is what Superman artwork should be. And the alternating artist on this series run is Nick Dragata. Get out of here.
Ooh, yeah.
Get out of here. Throw that up again.
Yeah, hold on. It was the whole page, but yeah, it's just really, really.
And I love
stuff.
a good use.
That Livewire's back.
Livewire.
Yes.
Let's go.
I really like Superman. I thought it was good.
When you bring a character back from the animated series, let's go.
Let's do it.
Oh man, that was my favorite part of Static this month. Was seeing that character come back.
What about you, Greg? Did you read this one then?
I did. It's always funny because anytime Manny brings up a DC book, it's usually like the one of the 85 I didn't read. But I did because I wanted to see where we're going with Dawn of DC, and I'm not the biggest Superman fan. This was enjoyable. I'm gonna see how long I'm right now. I'm giving Action Comics and Superman like a couple issues to see which one I'm going to commit to, because I don't want to go. I don't want to go both of them. But this was a little tough for me to like love it as much as I probably should have, because I read Superman Space Age issue 3 right before this one. And it was so good too. So, but they're completely different Superman stories. So like, that's not a knock on this at all. It's going to be interesting to see. I was a little upset that I felt like we were going to get kind of the Tom Taylor Super Might right here. And I'd kind of like to see that. So, but
we don't need a Super Might. We got Mixed Pitalik, right? We don't need.
I know, but but then have them have them go at each other. Like, it'd be fun. I enjoyed it a lot.
Mixie would be like, whoa. You can't be obsessed with Superman as well. Like, that's my thing. That would, Greg, that's a good idea.
Right? Thank you. I'm not just a pretty face, okay? Like I have some ideas, okay?
Oh,
Brian, you
you
were
said
hesitant.
just.
Brian, you were hesitant about this one, and here's something y'all need to know about Brian. Anybody who we've ever interacted with in real life or here on this channel, he will buy your book, right? Like, it doesn't matter. Like, it could be like we could have a creator on here to converse with us for like an hour and a half, and just this person could just talk shit to Brian the whole time, and Brian would buy everything that person did. Or if we met this person in real life, like Brian is that dude. He is that supportive. He loves supporting the people that he's friendly to or that are friendly to him. But man, I had to encourage you to get this Superman book, and I'm like, why are you hating on Josh, man? Josh loves us. Why are you hating on him, Brian? What's going on?
No, it wasn't that. I thought this was the Dragata book. Like, I thought Dragata was on the art, and so like that's why I was kind of. So I thought when I saw it was Jamal Campbell, I thought that maybe Dragata was doing action instead. So then I was like, I guess I'll wait for action to come out. But then you told me that are they alternating issues or?
They're alternating. Yeah, they're going to alternate.
Okay,
Did you get or notice the Dragata variant?
No, I got the cover A. I didn't look.
There's a Dragata variant, bro.
Okay, I may have to grab that one for sure. Yeah, because Dragata is one of my all-time favorite artists. I mean,
you have to grab. Plus, you've met him,
yes,
right?
It was
and
fantastic.
since you've met him, you have to buy his variant cover now.
Okay, that's true. I did buy his variant for Demon Wars.
Let me see if I can find it.
But no, I really like the issue. I love the story. I mean, it's like you were saying, Lex sets up yet another trap, and Superman falls right into it. I mean, it's great stuff. And then like the family stuff, and I thought it was interesting. Lois being the editor, and basically just becoming Perry White. For while she was in the bullpen area or whatever.
She even says Great Caesar's ghost, right?
Yep. I mean, it's great stuff. And I do like Jamal Campbell's art. It does look a little digital to me, but like the way he lays out the page is what a Superman book's all about. They're just that big action and the big scenes and everything, and then when it's when it needs to get smaller, it does. I mean, it's a good book. I'm definitely excited for more. And but as I was going through the issue, I was really liking the art a lot more. I was just like, once I kind of get used to the some of that stuff, it's really good. Because a lot of the art I try to think about it, like, why do they make these choices and everything like that? And it's like, so, oh my goodness. Yeah.
It's good.
I totally need to grab that one.
I just want that tie.
But no, I'm excited for that book for sure.
Nice. I feel like Nick just read it while we were talking about it. So what'd you think, Nick?
I reread it again on second read. It's even better than the first. No, I think story wise, I would give it like a 7, but art, I would give it like a 9.5. Like the art in this book is absolutely incredible. And I think specifically I'm talking about like the coloring, the lighting and the coloring in general. Oh my God. Like from the very first opening page, you get this like explosive, like Superman saving the day with like the backstory in the cape. I think Manny was talking about that a little bit. And the coloring in here is spectacular. Like the when Lois is showing up and she's she's now the editor and stuff like that. Like there's just lighting on her. So I think visually speaking, this book is absolutely incredible. Story wise, it's a pretty typical Superman story. There's nothing too insane. It's a pretty straightforward story, but like the art really, really kills it in this issue. So I'm excited for it. I'm excited to be on a Superman book, and I'm excited to be excited about it. So it's cool.
I even think we had that conversation with Josh when we were like, everybody thinks Superman's rogues gallery is lame, but he's got so many great rogues. And in this one, you got Luthor, you get Livewire, and you get Parasite. Like, what? That's awesome. There's so many great villains for Superman, and there's such a great world that's a part of all of it. And I love the way he's tying it in already.
Yeah, that's a good point, because like, I wasn't a Superman fan really till about 10 years ago. When I connected with my cousin who is a huge Superman fan. So he I said, well, what's a Superman story that would, kind of pull me in? It was that one that Kurt Busiek and Stuart Immonen did, the Superman Secret Identity.
Mm-hmm.
And if y'all haven't read that one, you'd need to check that out. But yeah, that's one thing but that's one thing I've learned though. Is his Rogues Gallery is actually, it's pretty dope, man. I mean, you got Brainiac in there, and I mean, there's so many good ones. And Mxyzptlk. I mean, those are always good because I don't know. Yeah,
I'm
a Superman fan now.
You talk about a great Superman. You said Mr. Mxyzptlk's Emperor Joker. That story arc is fantastic.
That's a great one, man.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
I love
that. Ed McGuinness on the art on that one.
On part of it, because it went through all the Superman stories. So is there Ed McGuinness, and there's going to be Duncan Rollo, I think, is on there, and you're going to get
J.M. DeMatteis.
David Tejas is the writer.
DeMatteis is writer.
Part of it. Joe Kelly,
Ed McGuinness, Mike Miller. Scott McDaniel.
Yeah, that's a good. I love Emperor Joker. That's a fun story. Joker basically steals the powers of Mxyzptlk and remakes the universe.
It basically is like if Joker had like the power of the Infinity Gauntlet. It's kind of like it just is like, and he can just
he makes the world like a cube. He tortures Batman every night to death. Like every night, everybody in all of the world can hear somebody screaming, and it's Batman being killed every night by the Joker, and then being brought back.
Perfect.
So freaking cool. So good.
Go read it if you haven't. It's so good.
Nice.
All right, Greg. Well, we just had a DC book dropped. So what do you want to add now?
Let's not do a DC book then, because I don't want to get this show too off the rails. I'm gonna go with another Image book. This is Image heavy for me. I'm gonna go with Torrent, issue number 1. Mark Guggenheim, I believe. Justin Greenwood does art, colors of I think by Rico Renzi. This is your token revenge story, and I am a sucker for a revenge book. Like, give me John Wick, give me Count of Monte Cristo. Like, the idea is you have a superhero here who I think her name's like Cracker Jack. It's something really stupid, but she has this kind of if you've all seen Incredibles, you got Mr. Incredible, and you had kind of the sidekick buddy at the very beginning of the show was like trying to follow him around. She has this kind of like superhero who like thinks he's her sidekick kind of thing. And she's like, dude, stop. You're annoying me. Basically, long story short, he gets kidnapped. He spills the beans on who she is, where she lives. Her arch nemesis comes and just kills her family. Like, and now it's like, all right, you just ticked off a superhero who has no now, code of, she's just like, all right, you got revenge coming. And you get it. A revenge story is a revenge story is a revenge story, but I like the twist. I like Mark. I'm excited to see what he does with this series. And it just was a lot of fun.
Nice.
I thought this one was all right. It didn't I liked it. I didn't think it was bad, but it just hit one of those weeks, and I'm reading it like we talk about, where you're plowing through your books on New Comic Book Day, getting ready for your videos and all that kind of stuff. And I liked it. It was good, but nothing stood out for me above a bunch of other superhero books where I feel like we have an overabundance of superhero fiction in comic books, right? So it didn't do anything to stand out, but it did have dynamic artwork. It did have an interesting story. And Cracker Jack's a really weird name. It's not Quacker Jack, though, which we know from Darkwing Duck. Did you read Torrent,
also made
Ryan?
an appearance?
Yeah, made an appearance this month. Yeah.
Yep.
No, I hadn't read Torrent, but I do like Rico Renzi's colors a lot. I mean, I think he's
a great colorist.
We've
met him. So that means that you got to buy.
Oh, then you have to read it, Brian. Come on,
I've met him multiple times actually.
Yes, you really should have. You should be on the ball here. And I'll tell you what, man. If you need to illegally download it, you can't be mad at somebody pirating a book called Torrent.
Yeah, Torrent.
It's kind of in the name.
Yeah.
It's kind of like that. The Chumbawamba had an album called "Steal This Album."
That's right.
And they meant that. They were like, "No, for real, steal it. We don't give a shit. They paid us already. We're good. Nick, did you read Torrent?
No, I didn't. But I mean, the premise sounds interesting. Like when you're a superhero and you have like that moral compass, and when that's taken away from you, what is your reaction to it? I mean, that sounds like what it is, and so like very much in that John Wick vein. So like that concept is very universal, and you can resonate with it very easily. So it sounds interesting. So
that's what I like about it, because I think, like, I know Robbie, you said it doesn't stand out as a superhero book. I don't think it's a superhero book as more of a revenge story book with using the superhero elements, because I don't think we get that as much. Like, you got your Punisher, but it's Punisher. He doesn't have superpowers. So like, it's almost like an Injustice take of, like if Superman, Lois dies, like what would Superman do if he lost his moral compass? So I'm intrigued to see if they build off of that. I think it had a chance to be really good.
Yeah. Cool.
Word. Manny, did you torrent?
I did. I read Torrent. I can't remember many specifics. I don't think she doesn't have powers though, does she? Does she just use guns and stuff anyway? Like, I don't think she's like
no. She's she. I think her power is like super leaping ability.
Oh, that might be it.
It's something lame because like it's like the Ant-Man, like you jump and punch kind of thing.
Gotcha. Because I know she's got guns or whatever at one point in the story, like at the beginning or whatever. But like I liked it. I really like the art style of this.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of what sets it off. It's got that like when you watch a Pixar movie and at the credits they show you like the hand-drawn version of the character. That's what it reminds me of. It reminds me of like a hand-drawn, like Disney sketchy type thing, but really violent and bloody and bruised. But otherwise, yeah, I don't know. It was okay. It was, unfortunately, Greg, I got to say, it was forgettable enough that I can't remember very many specifics.
I don't care.
To answer Steph's question before he completely dips out, I don't think Secret Identity is connected to Superboy Prime at all, right?
No, it's like one of the Elseworlds ones, because, yeah. But I mean, he did kind of a follow up with Batman that came out about 5 years ago.
Creature of the Night.
Yeah, and I think that was John Paul Leon. So
I think that might have been one of his last books, actually.
Yeah.
Unfortunately,
but yeah, that one's good too, though. I mean, that one's pretty solid. But if you like those revenge stories, and you mentioned Count of Monte Cristo, have you all read Count? Ibrahim Mustafa?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Yep.
Got to make sure I get a plug for that book in.
That's the cousin he was talking about earlier. So
so
well,
good.
I had Ibrahim on my show, so yeah, and I got to read the Count, so yeah. So
we had Ibrahim on our show telling everybody how good Superman 4 was, and I think Joe Corallo kind of got pissy about it, and then they
well, he said it on the interview, and then we did the show for all 4 movies, and yeah, they kind of they went back and forth a little bit.
I need to revisit that conversation.
I need to watch that now. Hey, and Manny, I misspoke. Torrent isn't written by Mark Guggenheim. It's by Jeff Lemire. You're gonna love it.
Oh,
it's Mark Guggenheim, man.
No. This wasn't well written.
It has a lot of sad mom energy, though.
Yeah. He switched it up.
Yeah,
it's just Jessica Lemire. Sorry, it's a sad mom.
All right, Brian. What's another book you want to highlight tonight?
Okay, I'll. It's hard, man, because I mean, even it's this week. It would have been hard just this week, but I'll go with Damn Them All, the Cy Spurrier and Charlie Adlard book about where I think we were talking about this on a previous show, but I didn't. I guess was Cy Spurrier writing Hellblazer or something?
Yes, he was.
Okay, so yeah, it's definitely. I mean, the main character is basically definitely like a John Constantine type character and everything. One of the things that really stands out, which they're constantly referencing the Goetia, with all the 72 major, the demons, and breaking those down and getting real nerdy about those, going into a lot of details about what they represent and stuff like that. Which is always, I find that stuff fascinating, but the one thing that stands out to me is when the demons show up, the artwork, the way it, the way it just kind of becomes unclear.
Yeah, they put that Gaussian blur over it.
Yeah,
Gaussian blur.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like it's so effective and everything, and yeah, I mean, and all the demons just look super cool and super threatening, and then there's like, I mean, there's one demon though, like I think his main thing is that he can help repair friendships.
Oh, that's useful.
It's just all these different things that are being pulled out, and it does have those, text pages and everything like that kind of mean, they break the flow a little bit, but I mean, they're clearly written by the main character, right? Or no, I guess her uncle is it? I think, you know,
It's her
he's
uncle's
like,
notebooks. And speaking of
Yeah,
her
yeah.
uncle, big ending here, right?
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say too. Yeah, that it was almost like he did. I felt like he kind of gave it away in the panel right before you flipped it over, but it was just like still that splash of that. You know, it was just like, oh shit.
Yeah, the basic
So yet
premise
another
would be,
penultimate issue. Mhm.
what if John Constantine, years from now, got murdered, and his niece decided to try to solve his murder, right? And now everybody on Earth is able to easily access demons, right? Like somehow the rules of magic have been broken or bent in such a way that you can command a demon very easily with just a coin. You don't have to actually put in the work, right?
Right.
But speaking of putting in the work, Cy Spurrier's put in the work. I don't know if this dude is a ceremonial magician, but he knows enough to be one. Like for real. Like he knows the key of Solomon. He knows magic. He knows the real shit. And that's some of the best stuff in Constantine veers into that. The Azzarello run, right? The Alan Moore stuff in the Swamp Thing run initially, right? Where Warren Ellis, like when you're using it more in a real world sense and less in a sense of like Harry Potter, you know, like they're not just throwing energy at each other. It's about like deals. It's about like focus. It's about like sex. It's about a lot of stuff. There's some sex magic in this issue too, Brian, right?
So is there cannibalism?
No cannibalism. Maybe made it
Well,
less sexy.
It all
I guess
not.
comes back.
We got
full
one
circle
issue left.
for Robbie
Yeah,
and-
maybe volume 2. Maybe
Yeah.
I'll get
I mean, there's
on board.
space. I mean, I think there's one issue left. You know, there's space for it.
Stand Them All is one of those books too that is so freaking wordy that when it's in a big stack like I had this week, I was just like, man, I just kind of want to skip it, but I don't because it's always worth it. And as we talked about with Dan Waters, it's not about the amount of words, how you use them. It's about the pace and the flow. Cy Spurrier is doing a great job with here. Charlie Adler's artwork is helping with that because they're able to use the negative space for those text bits and it just flows so well. You reading this one, Nick?
No, I read the first 2 issues and I have 3 and 4. What issue just came out?
5.
5.
Yeah, this
I
one's
do. I actually do have 5. So I have 3, 4, and 5. I have not read yet. But I think Robbie, I think what you just closed with was what I fell into. That was a trap that I fell into. It was like it was so wordy. 1 and 2 were very interesting, but like I needed a couple extra things to like really hook me in. And I think when I was staring at a stack of books, that was the least interesting at the moment. So maybe I need to revisit it. But me and Cy have a problem. A lot of the books that he writes, I have that same problem with his style of writing, and so it's like I think it's just me and that writer clicking. Dan Waters is in that very same vein for me. So like I know it's sacrilegious on this channel to talk about that, but like.
All right, so we don't need that negativity in our life. But
Exactly. But yeah, I need to revisit those for sure. I know they're great. That's a me problem, not a them problem.
okay, sure. The way to save yourself there. Are you reading this one, Manny?
Oh, I don't want to sound like a broken record. It's the exact same thing. We
Don't
have
do it, Manny.
them all. We buy them. We don't read them because it's always, I only make 30 to 60 second reviews, and even I can't find time to squeeze this book in. There's so much text, and then when there's not big text pages, there's just like borderless panels with a paragraph of text at a time. So it's like I just can't. I can't fit it in.
Easy.
And I feel like I'm gonna wait for a trade, and then I'm gonna sit down and read all 5 at once, and I'm gonna fucking like that's not gonna happen. That's not gonna realistically. That's more words than I read all year in those 5 issues. But the artwork is cool. You get the gist if you look at the pictures. The purple floating dude at the end is who you think it is, and then in the middle there's a bunch of blurry monsters and they're fighting them. Like you get it.
Yeah, you get it.
I do think the dialogue is actually pretty good. I mean, I really like the interchange between the different characters and stuff like that. So
see, I like the dialogue for fucking with Mark from Geeks Unleashed. Like I read shit and then I'm like, okay, this is British stuff, and then I can reuse it, you know.
Mark needs to read it to us. If he could
he
just
should.
read it to us.
And no shit,
should.
right? We
That's what
should
he's
have that
doing.
every week. We should all get together in our back
Yeah.
chat and just have Mark read it to us, and he can dramatize it, right? Be
Yeah,
like, "Oi, mate, sorry, what? What's you talking to? Simbe?" And we'll just be like, "Dude, this really works, man." Is Cy Spurrier British?
No, I don't think so. Well,
I don't know.
if you when that one where he did the werewolves that were hyena werewolves, that book that he did back then, or with that one, he did like videos where he was British, but that was like when he was being the pretentious version of himself, and then there was an English version. So he's still fucking with me. I don't know. That the long answer to that is I don't know.
He is British.
I'd like to say that I'm a fan of Cy Spurrier, but he's part of the X office right now, so it's I can only give those guys so much credit right now.
He's not really part of the X office. He just likes writing Legion and Nightcrawler. It doesn't matter what his book is. He's like, we need you to write a book about religion and Nightcrawler, and he's like, great. It's actually about fucking Legion and Onslaught. Like he just does whatever the fuck he wants.
Like Onslaught. Oh god.
Yeah.
He's just continuing this one Legion story he's been doing over the course of 8 different fucking books, right?
Oh, luckily that Legion book is really good though.
All right. What about you, Greg? You reading this one?
So I don't want to sound like a broken record, but
Oh no.
No, I read issue 1, and then unlike the others, I just stopped buying it after I did not enjoy it. I didn't like, you know what? I'm gonna keep buying this with the hopes of I'm gonna trade weight it basically, but in floppy form. And no, I didn't do it. So I also like to point out that like no one, everyone was dogging on my pick, and then Brian brings one in. Everyone critiques Brian's picks really like nicely, like, well, it wasn't for me, but like I pick one that is like semi like, oh, it was okay, and they're like, well, bearded, suck it, like you're horrible. Like,
Greg,
they're just like, well,
Oh god.
I still bought it, like I still found some things I like. So just tell me how people like you like that.
The difference, Greg, is we remember the book that Brian picked. We didn't read it, but at least we remember it. You picked a book that might as well have been self-published. Let's be fucking honest here. Right? Nobody heard it.
You didn't even read a book. You didn't even read it. You remember you bought the book that you read, though. Come on, get out of here.
I mean, I bought it, literally put it in this box next to me that I know I'm not going to read. So it's like
we all have our to read piles. Nick has his. I have my to read box, and then also my I'm gonna buy this so I can act like I'm gonna read a box, but I'm never gonna read a box.
Greg, that's called the Instagram thing. You buy it so that you can have all fucking 6 issues to post up on Throw Your Sets Up Saturday. It's the only reason why you're buying it. I mean,
you just wait till Nick's like, yeah, bro, all the malls right here, man.
Yeah.
That's
then
right.
Brian's gonna come up there like, you haven't even fucking read it, you fucking phony.
Tell me what happens.
You're a phony.
It's like Constantine's niece. I don't know. It's something weird. Some demons on a coin.
Just make it a Black Label book.
Cy Spurrier was doing a really great Constantine job on that Hellblazer book they were doing. It was when Vertigo left and they started Black Label and they did the Sandman Universe Presents and they added Hellblazer to that for some freaking reason. And apparently that book got cut short and Aaron Campbell did the artwork. It was really freaking good. And Constantine was actually against like an older version of himself from another reality. But apparently a lot of his ideas that he either didn't get to use because the book got canned or wasn't allowed to use got integrated into this. So this is the overflow of what he wanted to do with Constantine. And I love it. And I think it would be something like 20th Century Men, where if you get the chance to read the trade or read all the issues together, I think it's going to work better for you. Because it's a time sink. And that's what I'm saying. Like every month, I'm like, I need to skip this book just to get. I know y'all want the video. Y'all would love the video 30 minutes earlier on Tuesdays, but I had to read Damn Them All. And I had to read the fucking text pages too. I had to read every single one of them, right? And I love it. So I think that's a good call out. Good call out.
But you didn't read the text pages in Doctor Strange, Robbie.
No, I did not. I'm sorry. Like I was just like at this point, I was like, it's an effort.
So why Damn Them All, but not Doctor Strange?
Because it was 7 p.m. on Tuesday. It just has to happen.
Yes, exactly. I was like, I got to get this video going, man. I'm
Nick's at a shop.
I'm tired.
He needs the pick of the week on Patreon. Oh.
Yeah, I mean, y'all talk about the wordiness. I mean, I feel like I recently read Earth X, and you know, I mean, I feel like if you can get through that, you know, I mean, wordiness shouldn't bother you too much.
Well,
All right. I don't mind when somebody has something they want to say, but you do not fucking shit on Earth X. Okay. That's just not something that's going to happen.
yeah.
I liked it, especially John Paul Leon's artwork.
Well, the artwork was great. I mean, you tell me there's nothing you liked about that story wise?
No, I did like.
Now I'd like 2 eggs over hard.
Weren't expecting that one, was you? Was you? You're getting passionate. You're like, no, let me tell you. And then all of a sudden, boom, it's over. I don't give a shit. Anyway, all right, moving on.
Somebody bring up Spy Superb so we can all bond again. I feel like Damn Them All has broken us.
No, don't bring it
waiting
up
for
because that's the one I didn't get this month, and it's on my like to read, and none of the shops had it.
Just say too many words in it or something just to get us back.
Well, it wasn't Damn Them All that split us up. It was Greg getting offended that everybody was like shitting on Torrent, but everybody was like, oh, yeah, I'm buying Damn Them All, but not reading it.
I thought Brian was gonna go like, oh, you guys think it's so wordy. Like, have you listened to this show? Like, y'all are too wordy.
This is like a Tom King written goddamn show. We're all just repeating each other and shit like that. All right. Time for rapid fire. The ones that we didn't hit that we thought were really worth it. And usually I go last. I'm not doing that. I've had too many of my picks stolen. My rapid fire starts with Red Goblin, number 1. I really like, okay, Alex Packendale's writing this. I get it. Ron V's been writing Carnage and Venom. I haven't really been digging them that much. I'm coming around on Carnage, though. So I was going to read it, and I was excited for it to a level, but it actually surprised me how into that book I was. My favorite thing about it was ever since Norman Osborn's kind of like a good guy now, since the Sin Eater stuff happened, it just felt off to me. Alex was writing Norman Osborn as being a decent person, but still being Norman Osborn. And I really, really liked that. I thought Red Goblin was really good. Kaya number 5, since you didn't actually get to go to it, Kaya number 5 blows me away. Wes Craig is an amazing artist. He's also an amazing writer. And we got to reward people that continuously make their books good. Issue number 5s are just as important, if not more important than issue number 1s. You know what I'm saying? Because sometimes 5 issues in, you're buying a book, but you ain't reading it. Maybe you need to be like Greg, y'all, and stop wasting your money. You know what I'm saying? Buy a few more extra covers of Gargoyles. Help me make some money.
Darkwing Duck.
Darkwing Duck.
Yeah.
Ice Cream Man 34. I can't believe none of us mentioned Ice Cream Man yet.
I know.
And it's only because as good as this issue was, it wasn't on the level of the last few months. However, those people that thought that the last like 6 issues of Ice Cream Man were way too meta and way too fucking depressing, this is the issue you've been waiting for. We're getting back on track with certain things, with the mythology. I loved it. I thought it was still incredibly well done. Blue Book number 1, Aliens, Alien Abductions, the story of Betty and Benny Hill, with artwork by Michael Avon Oeming. I loved it. But what really set that over as something I wanted to mention tonight was Klaus Janson doing the backup story, showing all these newbies how to use digital screen tone to provide true texture and grit. Because the master of texture on the comic book page, his name is Klaus Janson. Met him. We've met him, Brian, so you have to buy that book. Did you buy it?
That was why I bought the book.
Okay. Once Upon a Time at the End of the World. Was this issue 4? I think 3 or 4?
4.
4. Lots of backstory on Mezzi, I think, is the character. Esmeralda, I think they call her Mezzi. A lot of her backstory. Loved it. Picked up some themes, kind of like there's a lot of similarities at times to Scout's Honor, but I really like the way that this one's handled. I thought it was absolutely fantastic. Specs number 4. Holy cow, did I love the ending of Specs. Holy cow. That was powerful and impactful, and it was a gut punch of an ending that I did not see coming. And that book never went an obvious direction. Never, ever, ever. And I think there's some very personal stuff there. Darkwing Duck number 2. Quacker Jack, baby. You know what I'm saying? This was Dynamite's first like comic book to sell over 100K, I think maybe ever. It is deserved. Amanda Dibert, who I think did work on the animated series, she's writing this. All one and done self-contained stories with the heart of the original source material, but updated a little bit to fit into today. Yep. I love Darkwing Duck by Dynamite. And my last rapid fire is Ronin, book 2, number 2. What the hell? Okay. Klaus Janson is the master of texture and grit on the comic book page. But you know who else is pretty good, apparently? Philip fucking Tan. Philip Tan is doing an amazing job with, was it Daniel Henriquez or something doing the inking? Holy freaking cow. The artwork in this book is amazing. All of them double page splashes, right? And the writing, it's Frank Miller. So it's Frank Miller like dialogue, but I love that stuff. The artwork blows me away, and I love the continuation of this Ronin story. And I don't know what it would be like to try to read this book, not having read the original Frank Miller Ronin. But if there's one thing you get out of tonight, it's that apparently nobody likes Damn Them All except for me and Brian. And the other thing is you need to read Frank Miller's Ronin because I think it's probably my favorite Frank Miller book. Like, I love it so much. I love the sequel. I love the artwork. And it was the smell of the week. And I'm going to give it the smell of the month as well. So that's my rapid fire. Nick, what about your rapid fire?
Wow. Well, first off, I'm actually reading Ronin Volume 1 for the first time ever. I actually have all the physical copies, so I'm actually reading that one in preparation for Volume 2. So that's really good to hear. But going into rapid fire, so I'm going to pick 5. There was a whole stack of books over here, but I want to be nice to people ahead of me here. So Vault Barbaric, Hell to Pay issue number 2. What a great continuation of the barbaric theme right here. If you're into the barbaric stuff now, if you read volume number 1, if you've been enjoying volume 2 so far, this book is exactly what you've come to know and love. Art style, the little interactions between whoever's holding the axe at the time, just the circumstances they're in right now. It's a great continuation to the series that is already amazing. And so that's really cool. We didn't touch on a whole lot of Marvel books. I think we all know the reason why, because we don't like them. But Silver Surfer Ghostlight issue number 1 was actually really interesting. I like this one a lot. Very heavy on family dynamics and just a run of the mill, like kind of like an average day for this family here. But there's some dark secrets that this family has, or at least on this property. And so the kids actually explore that. And I love the color scheme and everything like that in here in the art style. So Ghostlight was good from Marvel. Then I debated whether or not to bring this one up. We talked about it a little bit. We have Spy Superb from the Kent family here. What a great book this was as well. I love, man, the dialogue between our Spy Superb and impersonator and like the assassins all over the place. It's insane. It's like it's just so fun. I love it all. I love the situations that were in here. Cool book. Check this one out for sure. Brian, I'm sorry I stole that one from you. And then you got to support a $2 book. We have Nightclub, Mark Miller, number 3. A great continuation of here. What I like about this book is it's not like your typical teenager gets superhero or superpowers, and so it's like they don't know how to juggle their life. They're bitching about like, oh, their family or their girlfriends or their boyfriends or school or whatever. Like, these kids get their powers, they embrace them fully, and they just they just wreck the town and try to do like some cool stuff. We get introduced to a potential villain in this issue too, so we're going to be expanding that world a little bit. But a $2 book, insane writing, insane art. Got to support that. Everyone supports Spawn. You got to be checking this book out too. It's insane. And then Kelly Thompson, Black Cloak. We talked about it last month, I think. Issue number 2. I'm loving this book. The art was pretty innocent in the first issue, but I think it matches the tone of the story. Very, very cool book. Kind of like a detective book. She was exiled from like a royal family. She's now on a investigation now because somebody in the royal family was murdered, a former partner of hers. And so she's having to like navigate the waters from her job and this royal family as well. Very, very cool book in Black Cloak issue number 2. So that's the rapid fire.
Nice. What about you, Manny?
Boom. Let's go. Gotham City Year 1. I know this one had a lot of kingy dialogue. King's not the draw for this issue. It's just film noir stuff you've seen a million times in detective films. But I do love the artwork. Phil Hester is just killing it. I love the way that the art goes from this kind of gray tones, and then as the action and the emotion builds up, he starts adding tons of color, which I think is really smart. There's also some really cool things, like just at the beginning of the book, you have visuals like this with the silhouetted stuff, and then later in the book, at the emotional climax, the opposite character has almost the exact same look. I think that's all really cool, really smart stuff that I really dug.
And great color. The colorings by Jordi Belair on that one, right?
Oh, it's so fucking good. Yeah. Jordi Belair on that one. So good. So good. And then Door to Door, Night by Night. This is 3 issues in and I haven't been Cullen Bunn yet. So I'm digging it. I'm liking it. He's fucking candy corn, right? Like you think he's gonna be good every time, and you take a piece, you're like, fuck, it's Cullen Bunn again. But this is good so far. Fucking Jeff Lemire. All right, Little Monsters. Little Monsters was good. I love the backstory to Romy. I think that was really cool. I also am a little concerned that we're getting really close to the end and we've been building momentum in the main story. And now we just step back with almost an entire flashback, which I thought was a little weird pacing wise when it's collected together. But otherwise, It was still a really important story. I'm glad that it was told. Let's go with this one here. Boogeyman. I don't have it in front of me. Boogeyman number 6, wrapping up the story. I thought this was really, really good. It's not a horror story. I think if you go into it thinking it's going to be a horror book, you're not going to like it. If you go into it thinking it's a fantasy book, one of those ones where the monster and the kid team up, that's what this is really about.
Why would anybody think a book called Boogeyman's a horror book?
Yeah, exactly. But it's got a lot of really interesting lore, a lot of really cool things being built up in it. I love the way that adults can't see boogeymen. So in this book, there's cops and they're like arriving at the scene where all the climactic action is taking place, but they can't see any of it. They're just kind of walking around like a boring crime scene. And there's all these insets of like boogeymen fighting and dying in vicious and bloody ways all around them, and they can't see it. I really dug that. And yeah, the boogeyman was fucking phenomenal. And I just want to take, instead of doing the last book, I want to take 2 seconds and I want to address David M. Boer. David, I love you. David, I celebrate your work. Killer Queens was phenomenal. Firefly has been great. Canto was good for a volume. I want to say with all my heart, please create a Skillshare. Please create a Skillshare, and I will personally pay for Tom King to have a membership to that. And I need you to teach Tom King how to tell a compelling, satisfying story in 4 issues. David, I need you to be the hero that this community needs. Please start a Skillshare. And guys, if you're not on Skillshare, I have a link in my description.
All right, more like shill scare or share right there, right? Like, let's just go ahead. We don't need any of that in our life. I'm just kidding, man. You're back. Now we're having too much fun with this. Wait, what's going on?
But lots of good books this month.
I'm just glad you did it, Robbie, because I was trying to like delete Manny, and I don't have the power or capability, but I'm just like,
I think you're the only one who hasn't been dropped yet in this stream. I think everybody
don't
else
say that. Now he's gonna do it.
Hey, Greg, what you got for rapid fire?
No, I'm not doing it. I'm
finger on the trigger.
You're not gonna do it. Well, if you're not gonna do it, then you don't need to be here.
See, I knew you were gonna do it. You son of a Nick had to run it south. I was waiting.
Look, man, the one thing I hate is somebody abusing.
Finally, that's what I was waiting for.
All right, now we get back to the show. This is the show everyone wanted. Y'all have stolen all my books. So we mentioned it. Superman Space Age, issue 3, wrapped it up. It was a fantastic story. I can't wait for the hardcover of that. Get that in collected edition. Michael and Laura Allred. Mark Russell, Ryan, fantastic. And speaking of fantastic, I just pulled a Manny because Fantastic Four. Whoa, look at that transition. Yeah. Ryan North. I'm trying to branch out and get Marvel books. This has been a lot of fun. This run. I wasn't reading the Dan Slott run, but this we kind of get like the Infinity Gauntlet blip, but it actually makes sense of like that. There's actually real consequences when people disappear for 5 years, right? And they just highlight it for a year, like, oh, you have an apartment, you have jobs, you have bills that you have to pay. Oh, cool. Well, it's screwed up now because you've been gone for a year. So, yeah, it was a really good issue. Because the whole series, it was like Sue and Reed, the Thing, Johnny. I'm like, come on, break. And when they brought them together for issue 4, great. I really like it. Y'all. Nemesis number 2. You got me to read it because the last month And then none of y'all talked about it. The one book I read that y'all talked about, you're like, oh, I'm like, oh, cool, I'll bring it out. And none, really fun. Yeah, Jorge Jimenez, his artwork, The Violence, wee.
Yeah.
Forever Forward, great conclusion to a story. I liked a lot of other Zach Kaplan stuff, but I thought that was a really good ending. And then another great ending, Minor Threats, Patton Oswalt. If you didn't read Minor Threats, go check it out. Really a lot of fun.
Yep.
Nice.
That was
Thank
a good
you
one.
for that, Greg. That was a really nice rapid fire. What about you, Brian? Rapid fire.
Okay. Yeah. So, a lot of my books have been taken, but that's okay. I got this Know Your Station with Sarah Gailey and our friend Liana Kangas with Rebecca Nalty on the colors, which that was our team on She Said Destroy. I really I've liked this series, but I thought this issue was the best one so far. A lot of really good dialogue, and you really get deep into the backstories while they are advancing the story. And then there's that splash page at the end that just completely raised the stakes too. So like it's just going to get crazier from here. And I don't know. I highly recommend this one. Just look at some of that. The colors and I don't know. Just that art is just phenomenal to me. So yeah, I really liking this one. Then another one, Joe or Dahlia in the Dark by Joe Corallo, and I think it's Andrea Milana, and Michael Myers on the letters. This one's a fantastic book.
Did you say Michael Myers on the lettering?
Micah.
Oh, wow, he's come a long way.
Micah.
I know it's Micah. I was making
he's reformed and everything.
It wasn't funny. It didn't hit, Robbie.
It's got the button.
Hey everybody, what's up? Welcome to the show tonight.
I don't know. This is I don't know. It's like a kind of a buddy thing going on, but in this really cool world that Joe's built up, with fairies and other, I don't know. Just check this one out. It's a fun, kind of travel story, but it's got a really cool world building going on. And I did, I don't have any other ones that people didn't bring up, but I did want to I really like Spy Superb this month too. It made me think that the main character it's like Dunning-Kruger personified, this overabundance of confidence that guy has with like no knowledge of anything, it's like, he's not smart enough to know how dumb he is. It's just, I don't know. It's fun. That's fun to watch. And then that Superman Space Age. Yeah. I thought it was a great wrap up, but when I was reading it this time, or when I read this one though, I started staring at Allred's character designs. Like his character designs for like Batman was, I don't know. That's one of the coolest looking Batman I've seen in a while. And
love it.
And his Hawkman. Oh man, it was just so cool seeing his take on all those. It had Mr. Miracle and Big Barda together. Yeah,
yeah. Swamp Thing in there too,
stuff.
right?
He was in like a background character, right? Yeah.
And it just looked amazing.
And Joker too.
Yep. Yeah. Oh yeah, that part. Yeah,
Ooh,
that was a chilling part.
Creepy as hell.
Oh my gosh.
that was a great. I love that part of the story, man.
Yeah.
And then I did want to touch on Ice Cream Man because it has been dark, but for an Ice Cream Man story, this is very bright.
It is.
They amped the colors up, and everything like that. And I was just like, I don't know. Yeah, that's just that, like what you're saying on 20th Century Men. I mean, that's a team that knows what they're doing, and they just keep doing it month after month. So I still need to go back and get fully caught up. Yeah, they give a shit.
Go ahead and say it, Brian. Say they give a shit.
They give a shit. Yeah, they give a shit.
Nice.
And but I'm definitely, that's something I'm going to be doing over the next month or two is going back and fully getting caught up on Ice Cream Man. So
it's worth it.
I'm ready for it.
It's totally worth it, and you're worth it, Brian. You deserve that in your life. All right. I appreciate everybody being here tonight. This was another great, fantastic show. So next month for March, when we would typically be doing this show, Greg's going to be at C2E2. I'm going to be at MegaCon. We're both going to be having the time of our lives. Brian, Nick, and Manny are going to be wishing that they were with us. Even though me and Greg are going to be separate, we're going to be on FaceTime the
spirit.
entire time.
Robbie and I are going to be at C2E2 and MegaCon at the same time.
Yes, that's what we're doing, right? Yeah, we're going ham. Okay. So we're actually going to do it a week early next month and miss out on the last week, but we'll incorporate that into April. So March 23rd, 7 p.m. Central Time. That's going to be the March best of the month stream. And we're going to do all 12 this year. And all we ask in return from you, the viewer, is to make sure that we're nominated and win the CBC award for best collaboration. Because we want them to have to make like 6 or 7 trophies for one award.
I just want to win one award for once.
Oh, it feels great. You're gonna love it.
It does. It does.
I don't know. I don't know what it. I
only got
you
one.
will.
I don't know what it's like to have multiples. Like
I only have one.
You
It's
only
okay.
have one. I thought you won too. Meanwhile, Jim and Bueller got like goddamn, and then
Reggie. Yeah,
Reggie.
got them all.
Reggie's
They got
got
them
like
all.
a room filled with CBC awards. Anyway, so yeah, we'll be back March 23rd for this stream, but the streams don't end. Join me tomorrow for the Rex and Robbie show. That's going to be at 11 a.m. Don't really know what we're talking about yet, but we may be talking about, are there too many variants? And it's going to be really interesting talking to someone who works for Dynamite to talk in that conversation.
Yeah.
And then join us Saturday night for Dylan's Horror Show as we talk about Two Evil Eyes. That's two of my favorite directors, Dario Argento and George Romero, teaming up together to do a movie based on Edgar Allan Poe stories. Love it. Speaking of Dario Argento, March Madness is about to be starting. So we're off PCP movie night this upcoming Monday, but the following Monday, Tenebrae by Dario Argento. It's going to be absolutely fantastic. And I do want to point out 2 of the recent videos from Go Figure Reviews, Brooks and Jelani. They did the Super 7 Mumra, and then they did Sailor Moon SH Figure Arts. You know, the figure art Sailor Moon was totally Brooks's idea. So anyway, Nick, thank you for being here, man. Links to all of these incredible gentlemen in the description below. Friends of the show, you are. Some are part of the crew. We love you. You're all part of the goddamn crew. Nick, we're just going to go ahead and make this official. You're part of the Excitable PCP crew. We dub you. All you got to do is just be excellent, do dope shit, and party on. That's all
Thank
you
you
got to do.
so much.
Nick, tell us
Thank you.
where to find you, all that jazz. Final thoughts.
Thank you so much, man. I appreciate it. And I want to say this is, I think, one of the first months we did not cover Saga. Very, very weird. But
It was a good issue.
very good issue. Beautifully colored.
I didn't even put it in my rapid fire because I was for sure you were going to mention it.
Sorry to flip. Fiona Staples' name is on first now.
Someone tell Nick you already had your rapid fire.
Fiona Staples' name is on the first is first now, and so Brian came on second. That's a really cool thing. I love that. I love that creative team. So thank you
They
very much.
just decided to go alphabetical. That's what.
I'm gonna go there. And so yeah. Thank you very much for having me. Always a blast. I actually did my review show Nick at Night right before here to kind of get primed for this conversation and everything. So check that out. It's on every Saturday night. Very much in a similar format here. Except it's just me. That's all you get. So you don't get all the actual cool insight on all these different books and everything. So, but if you're into that on Saturday nights, on Mondays, I've actually started doing some like haul videos and things like that. So people seem to like seeing what people get. And so there you go. So I actually started incorporating that. And then I have new release stuff, final order cutoff, and haul videos throughout the week. So that's what I got going on. And a whole playlist dedicated to how to get into comic books today. So if you're new or you have someone that's interested in getting into them, you can show them those things. I go over a lot of different topics that we all take for granted nowadays. So yeah, appreciate it, man. And I'll see you guys in March 23rd. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, absolutely. Manny, final thoughts.
Well, I thank you for having me. This is my favorite show to do. And Michael Myers is writing comics now. That took way too long in Photoshop for that payoff. I'm just gonna say, I was like, oh man, I got to do this very, very fast. So that being said, 3 hours of Manny is way too freaking much, Manny. So why don't you guys go and check out Scarpad's comic. Scarpad's domain is Scarpad's Sci-Fi Sojourns. It's a really dope show. I've really enjoyed the conversations, especially the last couple that I've seen live, which has been a real treat. Scarpad is he's an interesting guy, and they talk about interesting movies.
No hot takes or anything.
No, never.
Nope.
Never. if you like guys that seem like they're from Massachusetts, he's your dude. So go check out Scarpads, Sci-Fi Sojourns. The conversation's been having with Steph, the Missing Link, Bad Batch MVP. That guy does everything. You got a film to talk about, music to talk about, video games, comic books. Steph's your man. Go and check out anything he's on, including Dylan's Horror Show.
Hell yeah, absolutely. Greg, thank you for being here. Final thoughts?
Man, no, thanks for always having me. It's always a lot of fun. Gang, if you don't know what I do comic book content on YouTube and all the other platforms, but I haven't done as much of my side shows as I used to. Just life has gotten in the way. So, but the missus and I have some ideas for Name the Character, another cooking episode coming up soon. But right now it's just been a lot of YouTube shorts and creator interviews. Just had Dan Panosian on the show. I'll drop that interview here in a couple of days. So that was a lot of fun. Nice. Got a couple other creators. I don't like to drop who I'm going to have on until it actually happens, but I'll give you a hint. Manny highlighted it, one of the creators, in his rapid review, and it's an artist. So if you pay attention to the show, you'll know someone that I am going to have on the show here eventually, and some others. So so it's a lot of creator interviews, just because I like to talk to people who are smarter and create the stuff that I like to read. So
yeah, nice. I was trying to think about who that could be. Then I was like, oh man, I don't remember any of Manny's rapid fire.
So Manny's rapid fire was the Torrent of the show. Okay. you watched it, you listened, but you don't remember anything. Okay, cool.
But I didn't buy it. I didn't buy it though. You know, I was just like, I don't buy this.
Wait, Boogeyman was one of them.
Oh, it's Boogeyman.
Yeah. Is it D-Jet?
Boogeyman guy then.
Hold on, Boogeyman.
Is it D-Jet? Is it Phil Hester? Is it?
Oh, that's right. You mentioned Gotham City. Oh,
yeah. Yeah. Is it
Dustin Wynn?
Yeah.
Little Monsters.
Little Monsters. Yeah.
Okay. Cantorino.
All right.
That's not a name, right? That's a fucking.
Right, well, we narrowed it down.
Movie. I guess we'll find out. Because Greg doesn't like to share who he's about to have on the channel. By the way, we're working on Nick Cagnetti, Ron V, Cullen Bunn. Lots of cool stuff coming in the way.
Nice.
Oh man, I should not be allowed to be in this chat.
I'll make sure that Manny's here for the Cullen Bunn one, so you can ask him about the bun getting bun.
He's such a nice guy,
dude. I accidentally entered one of his. I accidentally entered his Discord the one time, and I was like, "Oh my god, what do I do here?" Like I was terrified. I was like, "He's gonna say hello to me. It's gonna be like the most interesting hello ever." And then I'm gonna lose all interest, and he's not gonna know how to wrap up that fucking conversation. I know it.
I would love it if you and Cullen wind up having this like Newman and Jerry Seinfeld kind of fucking thing.
That's right.
Hello, Cullen. Hello, Danny. I'd love that. Brian, thank you for being here. Final thoughts, man.
Yeah. Glad to be here. I love this show. Love talking comics with y'all. I mean, it's always fun. I learn things and find out about new books and get to share my love for my favorite storytelling medium. I'll be on that Tenebrae show, and my Blu-ray showed up today, so I went ahead and bought that one because I loved the first two Giallo ones that he did. So yeah, pretty excited to watch that one and then get on the show and talk about it.
Tenebrae's got one of my favorite Goblin scores. Like outside of Suspiria, it's my favorite.
Oh, sure. Cool. Huh. Okay, I'm in.
Yeah, it's a good one, man. That's going to be a great show. Like, I think Joe's going to be on that one. I'm going to be on that one. It's always fun. It's always fun when we have I love how everybody gets excited when Joe's on one of our shows. By the way, why is Joe not here tonight? I was going to ask him to be here tonight, but the other day he sent me this random picture of him and Dave Gibbons. And I was like, what the hell, bro? He's like, yeah, just happened to be in London. Oh. Dave Gibbons happened to be doing a signing, so I went and met him. And I'm just like, fuck you, Joe. So you're not on the show.
Out of spite.
I just happened to be in London. Fucking writers. They're almost as bad as actors, right? You know what I'm saying?
I'm so bougie.
But if you guys really want to see something funny, watch our Flash Gordon review. When somebody in the chat tells Joe Corallo that he just didn't get the movie.
You don't get the point. He goes, oh, I get the point.
You don't get the point. He's like, I get the point. You're not the only one who understands the point of this movie. It's so funny. Oh, it was my favorite. All right. So
God bless Joe.
Exactly. Tenebrae coming up, like Brian mentioned. But before that, we got Dylan's Horror Show Saturday night, Two Evil Eyes. Join me for the Rex and Robbie show tomorrow, where I think I'm going to put somebody that works for Dynamite on the spot about why are there so many damned covers for comics. Anyway, we're going to have that conversation tomorrow and more conversations to come. We really do appreciate you all for being here. On behalf of everybody here, I am Rockin Robbie Billups, and I'm